Thank you very much, gentlemen, and a very good afternoon wherever you're watching around the world. Lots going on the road today, and an early break went away. 3 riders in it. The retiring Marcel in the yellow on the left. The man in the black and white on your picture is a Spanish rider from the African team Dimension Data. That's Omar Fraile. You'll have seen him in plenty of breakaways if you watched the Vuelta a España last year. And the man in the orange, blue and red is Giacomo Berlato. He's riding for Nippo Vini Fantini. As you could see behind, as they left Arnhem this morning on the 190-kilometre trek all the way to Nijmegen, not too many people were bothered about those 3 going up the road. It's a flat day, more than enough sprint trains to reel them back in, and they've been allowed a gap, a maximum gap of around 10 minutes along the way. A great day for Martin Cialinghi to be in a breakaway on home soil in front of his friends and family. The objective to get his name in the papers, his jersey on the television, and his team out there in front. Pressure off for Moreno Hofland, his team's sprinter today. This is where it should all end a little later on, after 4 p.m. local time, in Nijmegen, on the flat. Until then, though, we go live onto the course. You can already see there are roundabouts, there's road furniture, lots of things, flower pots, flower beds, everything in the road. They've all got to dodge that and stay safe today. It's going to be a nervy day, but with 102.4 kilometres to go, Fraile, Cialinghi and Berlato all in the breakaway. A gap of 8 minutes and 21. For the minute, Sean Kelly, it's nice and calm, and it's a relaxed start to stage 2.
Well, yes, it's exceptionally relaxed in the beginning. The riders seem to get away early, which is surprising in the Big Two, because so many riders, so many teams want to try to be present in the break. But of course, a 3-man break, it's an easy situation to control, and they can leave them take 10 minutes. And the sprinters teams, the Maya Rosa, the race leader, they're going to just allow them out there and just get through the day with calm racing as much as possible.
Well, it's Chen Ji, the man they called the breakaway killer for the last couple of years, doing a job for Marcel Kittel then. He's on a different team to Kittel now, but he has a job chasing the breakaway because his teammate Tom Dumoulin of Giant Alpecin has the pink jersey, the Maglia Rosa, a Dutch Maglia Rosa, the 6th Dutchman in history to pull on the pink jersey. 88 kilometres into the stage, and they're on their way to Nijmegen. It's Arnhem to Nijmegen for stage 2. It'll be a reversal of that tomorrow, and we've got 1 categorised climb towards the end, a nice steep 1-kilometre berg, typical of this part of the world. Loads to come on the home of cycling. We're 2 hours into it. We hope you're going to settle into it with us for the rest of the afternoon. It's hard to imagine a more perfect day for the Dutch hosts in Apeldoorn yesterday. It was the winner that the hosts wanted, a tight contest won by just 100th of a second, and 75,000 spectators in town under some splendid sunshine worthy of a summer's day. It was also the home team, Giant Alpecin, also now registered a German team, but still based in the Netherlands with their service course there. Tobias Ludvigsson taking the young rider jersey as well. So he's in white with Tom Dumoulin in pink today. Wearing the red points jersey at the minute is Primoz Roglic, riding for a Dutch team, completing what was a very good day for the home nation yesterday. Slovenian rider, a former junior world ski jump champion, just 3 points behind Tom Dumoulin, but of course Dumoulin wearing the pink means that Roglic will wear the red points jersey today. No Blue Mountains jersey as of yet. I think we can expect one of these 3 gentlemen to be in it at the end of the day. As you can see in the brand new spanking graphic at the bottom, Dumoulin leading the top 2 classifications on time and points with Ludvigsson, and Maglia Bianca, the white jersey, for the best young rider. Martin Cialinghi in the break on the right hand side in the yellow. 3rd oldest rider in the race, retiring at the end of next month after the national championships. This is his final Grand Tour. There's Omar Fraile, the Spanish rider who's always on the attack, it seems. And in the middle, the 24-year-old Italian Giacomo Berlato in the orange and blue. So, talking of Cialinghi, let's hear from him.
Well, it's a really nice area to ride your bike. For me, it's one of the reasons why I'm a professional athlete, why I'm a cyclist. I really enjoy riding around here. We're going to see nice pieces of nature, some little hills around Nijmegen, and especially tomorrow we passed 200 meters past my house, which is, well, for me an extra thrill and an extra motivation to get the maximum out of the 2 days, and maybe take something, a jersey or whatever, a little prize back to Italy, and to enjoy the rest of the 3 weeks. So.
enjoy the rest of the 3 weeks. He'll be enjoying today, Sean. The pressure's off, really, isn't it? And you never know, he's the best placed on general classification, isn't he?
Well, I don't know if the pressure's off. Of course, yesterday to get the prologue out of the way, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. But for Chillingi, I think with the team he's in, Lotto and El Jumbo, they're going to be pressure on to get something out of this race. And we did hear him say take something little back to Italy, meaning of course the mountain classification. He did that 2 years ago when we start back in Ireland. He took the mountain classification jersey, held it for a number of days, and that is the objective. Maybe they'll give him a nice send-off present. They might leave the breakaway out there, leave and take the big jersey, because he is the best in general classification. He's at, I think, around the 30 seconds, 32 seconds. So of the three breakaway men, he is, the best one overall. So possibly they might give him a good, nice send-off present.
Well, you'd have to expect that Marcel, Kittel, Andre Greipel and the other plethora of sprinters would be in a very, very generous mood for that to happen, because we have 7 sprints at this Giro d'Italia, 7 probable sprints, but as we saw last year with Bohème winning on a flat day, you never know what might happen. Today, though, surely we're going to get a big, big fast finish, and with the circuit finishes, 8.6 kilometres, all that street furniture, all the GC men wanting to stay safe, stay up there, it could be chaos, couldn't it?
Well, as they say, there's no cadeaux in cycling, no presents in cycling, and that's certainly the case here. Just joking a little bit, nobody is going to give anybody easy in this Giro, and especially on the earlier days of the sprinters, as you said. They're all up for it. They know this 2 days here, the road stages today and tomorrow, for the sprinters, the big opportunity for them. And in cycling, even on a club run, you get no cadeaux.
Fraile, Chillingi and Berlato up the road, giving their friends and family a cadeau, a present or two, by seeing them on the television. But we talked about the sprinters. Listen to this list. Now, I'm only going to mention the top names here. No disrespect to a lot of the other sprinters that are here, but listen. Kittel, the fastest man on the planet at the moment, as he's proven this season so far. Greipel, the fastest man last season when he won 4 stages at the Tour de France. Young Caleb Ewan's here as well. Arnaud Demar, winner of Milano-San Remo. Elia Viviani of Sky, who actually beat Kittel recently in the 3 days of De Panne. Giacomo Nizzolo, the Italian, who was the winner of the points jersey last year. The young upstart from Italy, Jakub Mareczko, riding for Villa Triestina Southeast. Nikias Arndt is the sprinter for Giant Alpecin. Homeman Moreno Hofland is the Dutchman. And what about Sacha Modolo, 2-stage wins last year, wins in Turkey last week. Matteo Pelucchi, Yam cycling sprinter as well, and the likes of Welter stage winner Christian Sbaragli too. It isn't a bad list, is it, Sean?
No, it's a big list of sprinters, and this final is going to be hectic. There's going to be a lot of trains trying to keep their men, sprinters in the good position, and of course here in Holland we've seen, just a moment ago, we can see now where the peloton is rolling along. Not huge, not wide roads, and of course we all know from Amstel Gold, and we did see other races starting as the Tour in Holland. The Netherlands, it's not an easy place to race. A lot of furniture in the towns as you go through, and that is going to be hectic. As always, 4 stages of a big 3-week tour are always very nervous. Everybody's feeling good, so there's so many riders can stay up front and fight to stay up there, and that is going to be a problem. Let's hope we see that they get through in none of these big spills that we so often see in the earlier part of 3-week tours.
New shoes for Rick Zabel as the rest of the peloton collectively decide that it's time for a natural break. And Rick Zabel will be one of the German riders very, very happy about a brief excursion into his home country today as well. We do go into Deutschland, into Germany, for just a few kilometres with 40 k's to go. We'll go through the town of Weiler. It's in the Nord Rhine-Westphalen region. Apologies for poor pronunciation there, German, not one of my strong points. Rick Zabel is going to be there, and he'll be trying to stay upright whilst he puts his shoes on to get there.
Don't leave it fall.
Rick Zabel, not a pure sprinter like his father, has a fast finish. He's still only 22, developing into a classics rider, and probably in one of the right teams to do that as well. And the good news for him riding here in BMC colours is that they've come here without any sort of big leader for the race. No GC man really, although Darwin Atapuma I'm sure will be supported on the climbs as much as he can. They're after stage wins and opportunities, and you imagine, Sean, that gives you quite a bit of freedom in a team, doesn't it? A different atmosphere around a Grand Tour without the pressure of having to carry a GC man or a sprinter around. If you can just look for your opportunities, it might mean that the dinner table's a happier place in the evening.
Well, certainly, when you're in a team, you haven't got a big sprinter, you haven't got a guy for the general classification, there is going to be opportunities there. And, you know, if you're riding in the earlier part of the race for your sprinter, or keeping your general classification men out of the wind, keep him up there all the time, that is hard work in the first days. And to get into the breakaways later on in the race, if things change, for example, your general classification man is not really up to it and he loses a lot of time, but then the opportunities are much less. So in the earlier part, when you haven't got a sprinter, a general classification man, like it's mentioned with BMC, you know, it's a great opportunity to get up the road, get into breakaways and ride your own race, and that way you will learn a lot as well, because if you're riding on the front in the first half of the race, well, you're just on the front of the peloton all the time and you're not getting to the final as much, not getting to the breaks. Your opportunity to learn is not as great as in a team where you get a chance to play your own card.
Omar Fraile on the left-hand side is wearing the white jersey with the black shorts. He was actually signed for Dimension Data by our commentary colleague Brian Smith, who has recently departed the Dimension Data setup. Fraile is 25, he's from Spain. He should ride both the Giro and the Vuelta this year. Of course, must feel like he's riding at home in the Vuelta with the noise that he's getting on the roads. 75,000 on the road yesterday. Quite a few more this weekend, of course. It has been a Dutch national holiday on Thursday. It was Liberation Day. A lot of people taking the Friday off work and staying out there. But there is Fraile on the road there. 25 now, as I said. Giro and Vuelta on his programme this year. Signed from Caja Rural. And joined a brilliantly combative Vuelta debut last August. Finished in the top 6 on stage 16. Got out in the front of the race very, very often. Rewarded by the final King of the Mountains prize. And he's a really, really good signing, you'd imagine, for an African team that's desperate to get its charity, Quebecer, on the front of races and into the media by the fact that he always goes on the break, Fraile.
Yes, well, a rider that gets into the break, and he's always a very valuable one, because you know, there's always that opportunity of getting a stage victory, not alone the exposure you get by being out there in the break. And you know, we have seen you know, Dimension Data, which has changed its name from last year. You know, what a success they had last year, you know, during the big 3-week tours, and it'll be interesting to see, can they repeat that and get, you know, at least a stage victory out of this Giro.
Well, it's their first year at the World Tour level, so they're riding the Giro d'Italia for the first time with the African team Dimension Data for Quebecer, which is their full name now. The team says it's a significant moment both for them and African cycling in general. 7 of the team's 9 riders at the Giro are debutants. The Dutch start bringing back good memories of their excellent Tour de France last year. Remember, the Tour started in Utrecht. And if you're looking for typical Dutch images, here's one on your picture right now. Huge rivers, massive canals. A lot of this nation is next to water, underwater, fighting against the water. Heck of a lot of money spent in the Netherlands combating floods and things like that. Brilliant infrastructure for it. Superb infrastructure for bicycling as well. Well, that is Fraile we were talking about on the front in the white. Just behind him you had Chilingi. Big cheers for Chilingi, as Sean was explaining just a moment ago. 92 Ks to go. Nice and relaxed in the back of the bunch for now. These aren't days off for the general classification riders, are they? They really are going to have to switch on today. You mentioned that we've got all the road furniture, and you can see part of it here. A few speed bumps, sleeping policemen around, narrow roads. You can see a lot of signs. We're going through tight corners. It's okay now, isn't it, when there's a relaxed attitude to the race, but when we're in the final 20 Ks, the sprint teams are all fighting for position. We've mentioned all the different names and big teams that have brought sprint teams here, and the fashion nowadays of the GC riders fighting for position themselves up the front around those very, very tight corners. It could be chaos.
Yes, well, you know, it looks easy here in the peloton, but again, to keep your position up in the top 25, 30 riders, you know, there's movement all the time, there's riders moving up, and we can see here Astana, for example, Giant Albaicin, they're all going to be trying to hold posts in that top 30 with their general classification men. So it looks like it's an easy day here back in peloton, but it's far from it, and as you get closer to the finish, then it just gets heated more. It's like the kettle boiling. Slowly it starts to boil, and when you get to that 25-30 kilometers, then it starts to boil over.
Tom Dumoulin won't want to leave it on the stove too much. Remember, you can get in touch with us throughout this Giro d'Italia. Hashtag home of cycling for all your tweets. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes' time. Stick it with us. Well, if you're watching this, tuning in and thinking that that doesn't look much like Italy, then you're right. We're in the Netherlands, and that is Sacha Modolo looking to try and set up his sprint later on today. Going back to the car, as things are fairly relaxed now, with a break of 3 away here on the second of 3 Dutch stages of this Giro d'Italia. 89 k's to go. The break has just under 7 minutes. We're looking at setting up a sprint today between Arnhem and Nijmegen, 190 kilometers. Some of the former winners here as well. 4 former winners of Giro d'Italia here. Ryder Hagedal is one of them. And talking of foreign starts, there have been 11 previous Giro d'Italia foreign starts as well, starting all the way back in San Marino, 1965. #12 foreign start for the Giro d'Italia. San Marino was the first. Giro won by Vittorio Adorni in 1965. The year later, they started abroad again. They liked the idea so much, they didn't stray too much from Italy. It was in Monaco when Gianni Motta won the 1966 Giro d'Italia. Then the longest excursion for a while came. They went to Verviers in Belgium. Not too far from here, just over the border, the French-speaking part of Belgium. Eddy Merckx won that Giro in 73. The year later it was Vatican City when Merckx won again. They've been to Athens, Nice, and this is the 3rd Netherlands start as well. Recent years in Ireland and Denmark as well. Giacomo Bellato is one of the 3 riders out there. We've already talked at length really about Cialinghi and Fraile. Bellato is a 24-year-old, riding now for Nippo Vini Fantini. It's his 2nd Giro d'Italia, just his 2nd year as a professional in fact. Still yet to win in his career. He's the man in the orange, navy blue and white at the front on the left hand side. And they're all ready to pick up their lunch. It's the feed zone. Feed zone at Beneden and Leuven. Between 95 and 98 kilometers along the way. In the middle you can see there Cialinghi. There's his teammate who almost won yesterday. Let's go and hear from Primož Roglic.
Who are you? Where do you come from?
Yeah, I come from Slovenia. Before I was a ski jumper and now cyclist.
What did you learn from ski jumping that can help you for cycling?
Yeah, like in every sport, maybe to fight every day to become better and better.
And what else do you expect from the Tour of Italy? We know you're a climber.
I don't know. I'm surprising myself also day by day, and we will see.
Nice to hear that from Primož Roglic, and it's fair to say that we didn't have him highlighted yesterday as one of our big men to watch in the time trial. Yes, we've seen him go on pro-continental level and even at continental level with his Adriamobil team the last few years fairly well in the time trial, but not against this sort of field and such a short course. He was brilliant yesterday, only losing the pink jersey and his first ever Grand Tour stage, which could have ended up in a win by 100th of a second to the man wearing pink today, Tom Dumoulin. As you heard there, the Slovenian turned to cycling after a crash in ski jumping. He's 26 now. 5 years since his last competition in ski jumping, and he was so good, such a promise in the ski jump scene, that he was actually a junior world champion. We've seen people changing sports, coming from one sport to another, and it seems sometimes, Sean, that if you're born to be an athlete, you're born to be an athlete.
That's very true, and you know, when you look at cycling, it's a one, I think, where people come from other sports and you can come in that bit later as well, where if you go to, for example, swimming, it's a sport where you have to start very, very young, and it's all done, you know, before you're 15 years of age, and you know, then you're going to make it or you're not. Where in cycling, we've seen some of the big riders of the past. Tony Rummenigge, I think he took up cycling, or really got into racing when he was about 22 or 23. So you can come from another sport a little bit older, and if you've got the talent, of course, and it's all about the commitment, all about the hunger. If you've got that, and you've got a certain amount of talent, you can go a long way.
Hunger. Name of your book, that, isn't it?
Plug him.
Still available in all good bookshops. Now this is a man who might have a book or two to write in the future. Tom Dumoulin, 26 years of age. He's 70 kilos for 1m86. Adds a pink jersey to the red one he picked up in the Vuelta a España. He's the 6th Dutchman to wear pink. Hedy Vorting was the first in Naples all the way back in 1954. And with all of the great Dutch cycling heritage, it's amazing to think that no Dutchman has ever won the Giro. Janssen and Zoetemelk won Tour and Vuelta, but the Giro yet to be conquered by a Nederlander. In fact, they only ever put one man on the podium, that was Erik Breukink. He was 3rd in 1987, 2nd a year later with all that snow on the Passo Gavia. Sean, in your opinion, can Tom Dumoulin become a Grand Tour winner in the next few years?
Well, can he become a Grand Tour winner this year? That is also, I think,
well, he says no. He's taking the pressure off himself.
Well, I think yesterday, and he's talking a lot about taking the pressure off this Giro. He's not really, focusing on the general classification. Well, I don't believe that for a moment. I think in the back of his mind, he's thinking, let's get the next couple of days over with. It's been a brilliant start for himself, getting, and the team. And let's not forget, joined Albacete. They had a very difficult start to the year. The crash, remember, in Spain with all the riders getting knocked off and out of competition for a long time. And yesterday was the first win for the team, which is an amazing when you'd expect him to have a number of victories already with some of the other riders. So it's very, very welcomed in the team that he can win here in his home country, win the stage, take the pink jersey and go on from there. But he will be hoping that if he's not at his best, maybe he will improve in the next week, and that is possible also. Big Tour riders, when they have got that talent, they can get through the first week of racing and then start to get better. And if you start getting better, well then you're certain you're going to be in real good shape for the final 2 weeks. So I'd not be surprised if Tom Dumoulin goes a long ways in this Giro, but we will see now. I think a clearer picture as well for the future. Can he win the big Tour? This will be a little bit of an indicator for us, and I think for Dumoulin, for the team himself as well, to see where exactly he is at the moment.
Well, the team is saying that they have a 3-year plan with Tom Dumoulin. They don't want to put too much pressure on him yet. They want to help him learn, and they have this unique approach. They call it a unique approach. They call their director sportif coaches, they call it the keep challenging approach, where they look at every single aspect of everything they do. They're quite a unique team, Giant Albacete. It's quite an environment that's full of pressure in different ways. I know that they search their own athletes' bags and luggage, for example, to make sure they're not doing anything a little naughty. They have Tom Dumoulin on this 3-year plan. They believe in him, and they said they need to teach him to believe in himself as well. Now, from his own interviews and declarations, he said that he can't win GC here. He said quite clearly overnight, I don't think I'm going to be the first Dutchman to win the Giro. Sean, you think he might be able to do? He was excellent in the Vuelta a España last year. Remember, he kept that red jersey for a long, long time. He pulled out a lot of time on everybody else in the time trial. I think it was in Burgos, wasn't it? He's already said here that there's a long time trial in Chianti that suits him. He thinks he can pull out a lot of time on his rivals. It's 40 kilometres long. He says it suits him much more than the one yesterday did, because yesterday you really had no margin for error. If you made an error over 10 kilometres, that was it, done and dusted. Over 40 Ks, he reckons he can pull out a lot of time on GC rivals. I mean, we might be talking about Tom Dumoulin having a big advantage on the rest of the GC guys before we even get to the mountains.
Well, that is certain, and I think you look at the other general classification contenders. You have Nibali, who performed very well yesterday, only at 19 seconds, Valverde at 24, and Rafa Moik at 38, Landa was at 40 seconds. So there are some of the general classification men, but none of those guys stand out a long ways ahead of the rest. It's not like if you have Chris Froome, Contador, Quintana. They're really difficult guys in a 3-week tour to manage. So I think Dumoulin will be thinking that if Nibali is not really super in this race, then I think Dumoulin has a chance to go on and really battle for this overall classification.
Martin Cialinghi out there in the break. Behind will leave the GC battle for a little while yet. 3 weeks long, remember. This is Cilingi's chance to put himself on the television in a Grand Tour for maybe the last time. I'm sure we'll see him being as active as he can on the front. On the front so far, we've had a few different teams out there. At the minute, they're going through the feed zone just under 6 minutes back. The 3 men in the breakaway had a maximum advantage of 10. We've mostly seen Team Giant Albertine on the front, as you would expect. They're leading with the pink jersey in the team. They also have Nikias Arndt to have a go for the sprints. But we've seen Ethics Quickstep start to come to the front and do a bit of riding as well. Remember, Marcel Kittel is the big favourite on form. The Iceman, he's got a bit of a Val Kilmer look from Top Gun about him, hasn't he, at the minute, Marcel Kittel with that hair. Remember seeing him last week in the Tour de Romandie as well, out there in Switzerland. Walked past him in the airport and almost had to do a double take on him. He was that skinny, he was looking that fit. Looks to be ready to climb the mountains as well. Watch out for him at the Tour as we look at one of our favourite attackers, Stefano Pirazzi, who I'm sure once we get back to Italy will be attacking that race like he knows best. Riding up the front there is Łukasz Wisniewski and Carlos Verona. Verona is the Spaniard wearing 68 there. The man just behind him on 5'8" is Tom Stamschneider, son of Henny, former cyclocrosser of course, and riding in his home rounds in the Netherlands. Alejandro Valverde, Nicholas Roach is there, as is Vincenzo Nibali. A word from the Nibali camp last night was that he felt he was very happy with his time trial. Sean, time trials as short as that, are they an indicator of form, or does it not really mean anything in the grand scheme of things early on in a Grand Tour?
Well, it is a little bit of an indicator, but when I was racing, I never really took too much from the prologue or shorter time trials which we had yesterday, just over the 9 kilometres. It is a little bit of an indication, but again, I don't think you can, take everything from that. But it's very important, for the general classification men that you do a good performance against the other general classification men. That's what you try and set out to do. And I remember back in my day when I was riding those races, you'd hear these real fast times in the earlier part of the day, and you'd be going out 2 hours later. You'd really not be concerned about this, the performance those guys have done. It's really the general classification men, and that's what you set out to do. Unless you're really in good shape and it's a sort of a prologue which really suits you, you might be thinking of getting the win there. But in general, I think the general classification men just are looking and having an eye on what the other GC men are doing.
Tom Dumoulin deciding he didn't need so much lunch there, threw half of it away. Just under 82 kilometres to go. Sorry, Sean.
Freddie's going to get fat.
Well, he's got to be losing weight, hasn't he, towards the mountains? 70 kilos. But 1 metre 86 tall, it's hard to see where he's going to lose it from, isn't it?
Well, it's amazing. 1 metre 86, 70 kilos. How can they, ride a bike? How can they, be so strong? But that's the way bike riding is now at the moment. It's all about getting your weight down, really get down lightweight. And when you see those guys on TV screen, they look pretty normal here. But when you see them, as you said, Rob, in normal cities, they look, like juniors, look like 17, 16, 15-year-olds.
Yeah, that just little anecdote about Kittel there. Just landed in Geneva ahead of the Tour de Romandie last year with our colleague Rob Hales, and we both walked past. We were going to pick up the rental car, and Mr. Kittel was in his tracksuit, and you knew it was him because of the hair. But you look down, there was nothing, no waist on him, nothing to his legs hardly, and this is the fastest man on the planet. Absolutely incredible to see the way that nutrition and sports science and everything else has gone in cycling. He just looked a different guy altogether. Vineyards there. Now, you and I were quite surprised to have a look at the road book here to find out that there is quite a bit of wine produced in the Netherlands. What is it, 900,000 litres?
Yes.
Have you had a taste of any of it? Any good?
No, I've never tasted it, and I was, major surprised when I was reading that in the route book. 90,000 litres of red and white wine, and Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, Chardonnay, a lot of the grape brands or the grape names that you would be familiar with. But I was very surprised. I actually had to read it on a second time round to be sure I wasn't seeing something.
Well, if any of you at home have ever tasted any Dutch wine, get in touch with us. #HomeOfCycling. And I know that our resident chef extraordinaire, Mr. Jonathan Harris-Bass, will know a thing or two about that as well. Don't worry, he is cooking throughout this Giro d'Italia, and he'll be posting his recipes online as well. At Jono_HP if you want to follow that. And I think he posted one yesterday that looked quite appetizing as well.
And of course, the wine, when you go to Switzerland as well, you see a lot of these, vineyards, small vineyards, and it's something you never see outside of Switzerland, Swiss wine. But they have quite a lot as well, and quite a lot of vineyards scattered on the side of the mountains.
Yeah, I sampled a glass or two last week. It's very nice stuff. Gamay from the Valais region of Switzerland. Beautiful stuff. 80 k's to go on a beautiful day in the Netherlands. Heading from Arnhem to Nijmegen, 190 kilometers. Now looking at the road book, you just see flat roads really. The wind and the road layout could make things very difficult though. GC riders not exactly getting 2 days off here. They have to keep their focus throughout the day. It's going to only ramp up in terms of tension and nerves. Everything decked out in pink, but the massive colour that is the professional peloton making its way through. The wind not blowing as hard as it usually does off the North Sea at this time of year. I think the GC guys will be happy at that, but as it snakes around, it's plenty of different directions. Everybody has to be vigilant. Just under 80 k's to go, expecting a sprint today on the Giro. The Tunen Gardens, heading through Appeltern. 200 different types of gardens on display down there, as we have 3 types, 3 teams out in the break. Fraile, Verlato and Cellinghi. 3 different nationalities as well. As we say, welcome Giro d'Italia. Tour of Italy starting in the Netherlands for the 3rd time this year. And it is a beautiful, beautiful day. 25 degrees out there, lots of shorts and t-shirts, lots of pink t-shirts as well. Dutch and Italian flags, shops decked in pink. I don't think too many of the riders took up the local hair salon in Apeldoorn on their 50% off the pink rinse offer yesterday, unfortunately. Not too much to celebrate yet, not even Tom Dumoulin could go for that. There's Martin Cellinghi at the front. He's in the yellow and white and black, just behind him Fraile. Cellinghi, the most experienced of the riders in this break. In fact, he's one of the most experienced in the peloton as the 3rd oldest rider, pardon me. Into his late 30s. The man who's followed that strict vegan diet for the last few years. Hoping to go into coaching and pass on his advice to fellow riders as well. Well, just over 76.5 kilometers to go. We've got an exceptional level of sprinters here. 2 of the biggest names in the world in Kittel and Greipel, as a few locals get a chance to pedal alongside some of the biggest names in the world in the breakaway. In fact, it's funny, you see all the bike paths there. Sean was talking yesterday about all the great layout and the possibilities and the safe nature of riding a bike in the Netherlands, but it upset quite a few of the professionals when they turned up, because the riders were told that if they didn't train on the bike paths, they get a €45 fine before the road and before the race kicked off. Rider Huisdahl riding in his normal position at the back of the peloton. Don't usually see him until about week 3, do we, in the Giro d'Italia? He's having an easy-ish day at the back there, just in front of him in the Australian national champions jersey there as well. All the attention on the sprint though today, and of course time to go and think about what the favourite is going to do. Marcel Kittel, the 27-year-old, has an Italian in charge of him. Let's go and hear from Davide Bramati. It's a very really important day, Davide Bramati. Marcel Kittel has his first opportunity.
Buongiorno a tutti, sì, oggi
good morning everybody. Today's a really important stage. It's a fast stage, and we'll see how it works out for us. Yesterday, Kittel did a really good time trial, and today we'll see how he gets on. It won't be easy. Of course, it's a difficult sprint. I think the group will be very nervous.
Vediamo questi giorni da Marcel felice, contento, rilassato. Come è stato?
Well, we've seen Marcel nice and relaxed these days. It's a good start to the year for him.
Sì, si è ambientato subito.
Yeah, I think he adapted straight away to the
Si è
team.
ambientato benissimo.
He arrived in October, first training camp, it was good.
Ha già vinto tanto, ha già vinto 8 corse.
Of course, he's already won so much in his career.
Una tappa a Romandia,
and
ha avuto qualche
you know, even last week he won in the
tappa,
Tour de Romandy as well.
Partito, però
it's taken a lot
ha
of
recuperato bene, ieri ha fatto una grande
pressure off.
E vediamo oggi,
of course, he had a bit of problem in Romandy towards the end of the week, but that's normal in the mountains. Yesterday, a great time trial, and we're going to hope he can take a win today. Thank you. Good luck. There's an in bocca al lupo, in the mouth of the wolf there, which means good luck in Italian. Have to respond crepi, otherwise it can be considered bad luck. Bramati obviously confident of Kittel's chances. There's a strong looking squad for Kittel, in fact. They've got power to control and bring back breaks. Good lead out train, Wisniewski, Trentin, Sabatini able to put on the required pace to set things up. Is it a surprise to you, Sean, that he has adapted straight away to life at Etixx Quick-Step? Did you think he would take more time, or did you expect him to be back on it after that bad year last year like he has been?
Well, the question was he able to get back to the level himself after the difficult year he had last year? That was always going to be the question. Going into Etixx Quick-Step, I felt, you know, it was a good team to go for him, because the Belgium teams, you know, that style of rider, flat sprints, all of that, they're very, you know, strong in that discipline. So for him, and with the Belgians as well, I think he would knit in very, very well. He's that type of character, so, you know, I didn't have any problem in that way settling into the team, but there was always a little bit of, you know, question mark over how well would he return from his, you know, very poor season last year. And immediately at the beginning of the season, of course, he started to win, and it looks like, you know, he's back to where he was 2 years ago. And you know, it's going to be an interesting one now. We're getting, you know, to the 74 kilometres to go. At that 43 kilometres to go, we have the intermediate sprint, which gives that 3 seconds. So it doesn't look like that Etixx Quick-Step are going to try and, you know, ride for that. Otherwise, I think they would up the pace a bit earlier here and have it a bit more under control. 5 minutes is a lot. They cannot make up that in this next 30 kilometres. So it looks like they're going to ride just for the stage victory today, because Kittel, of course, 11 seconds down, 10 seconds bonification. He would need to take the bonification out on the road and also win the stage to get the pink jersey.
Yeah, it's worth repassing and just having a quick look at the time bonuses, the bonifications, as you say. 10, 6 and 4 seconds on the finish line of the stages, apart from time trials, of course. So that makes and gives plenty of incentive for everybody to win stages on the flat in the mountains. You get those bonus seconds. Also, the intermediate sprints, but it's not as nailed on as in some races. It's not every single intermediate sprint, Sean, that gives us 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds. In fact, we have 2 intermediate sprints per road stage, but only one of them gives us those seconds.
Yes, and that is you know, something different to other races. Of course, you know, normally in the stage race, when you have these intermediate sprints, you have the points for the intermediate sprint classification, but you also have the bonus time to be picked up there as well. And normally it's 3, 2 and 1, but in this one it seems to be the last sprint of the day on all stages. With, you know, 2 sprints, but it's the second one of the day, which gives the time bonus of 3, 2 and 1 towards the overall classification.
Yeah, and the sprint that's going to give us that moment today is in Bergendal. Same place as we're going to have the King of the Mountains points given out just a few kilometres up the road when they did a little loop and come back around. This is the situation in the group at the minute, and Marcel Kittel's team not particularly contributing too much to the front. They're still letting the GC teams do the work, and they can afford to do so at the minute. Advantage of 5 minutes and 3 seconds. It's still Jan Alpecin, it's still Astana. We did see an Etixx Quick-Step rider up there for a while, but he seems to have moved off towards the back again at the minute. And as I say that, in fact, pardon me, on the left-hand side there is one rider returning to the front, so maybe they were just swapping shifts.
Yes, well, there have been an Etixx Quick-Step rider there around the front on a number of times when we've seen the front end of peloton. I think maybe Etixx Quick-Step, you know, looking at the stage today and in the team briefing, will we try and control things for the intermediate sprint at the time bonification point, or will we wait for the stage? And We have seen Ethics Quick-Step, you know, of recent early season classics. Sometimes they work too much, they take control of the race too early, and they have paid dearly. So they're probably a little bit scared of doing that here today. You know, riding very earlier on, and then in the final, not having enough men to give Marcel Kittel the real leader, the good leader for the stage victory.
Well, if you want to have a go at the Ethics Quick-Step tactics, I'm going to be a bit naughty now and say that Wilfred Peters isn't here. He's the man that's had all the abuse from a lot of Ethics Quick-Step fans. Some of the riders who have left, let's just leave it at that, not happy with his tactics. But he's not here, he's actually over at the 4 Days of Dunkirk, I think, at the minute. It is Bramati in the car, and Ethics Quick-Step with a top team here. It's hard to see past them, isn't it? I mean, we're going to be interested to see how Greipel is, but the thing is, everyone's going to be looking for Marcel Kittel's wheel, I think, in the sprints. Will anybody be able to get around him, though? That's the question.
Well, that's always the question, and you know, Kittel is going real well of recent. He is in good shape, but you just never know what way the other riders are performing. And of course, in Paris-Nice, we were, you know, posting up Kittel a lot. You know, stage wins. He's going to win some stages here, and he just couldn't get it together. The team never got it together, and there were stages there, you know, perfect for Ethics Quick-Step and Marcel Kittel, but they just were not performing at all, and he wasn't performing. So you just never know in cycling from one week to the other. But on his shape of recent Romandie, he should be, you know, there today, and the team should be able to do the business. It's certainly, you know, that sort of stage for them. A little bit of wind in the end, but depending on Greipel, and when you named out the other sprinters, Rob, there's a lot of guys here who can challenge Marcel Kittel for the stage victory.
Hell of a lot of guys try to challenge Marcel Kittel for the stage victory. Looking down at their team, it is a good one. Jungels is there. Sabatini's the lead-out man who seems to be doing a really good job for Kittel this year. Trentin is versatile. Wisniewski is sort of the Tony Martin type engine to bring things back and do the job, a fast job towards the end as well. Bob Jungels, by the way, yesterday in the time trial was riding on a 58-tooth chainring. Big gears for him.
If he used 56, he'd probably have been faster.
Or maybe it was too big. You have to make the calculation, of course, as you say.
It's all about the calculation.
70 kilometres to go. 5 minutes and 21, and we're with you for the next 3 weeks here on Eurosport, the home of cycling. And we want to hear from you throughout, of course, hashtag home of cycling for all your tweets. Questions for the great man alongside me, Sean Kelly, and comments on what you see happening on the road. It's a story that evolves over 3 weeks. First couple of chapters being written in the Netherlands. Ben Lads is the man at the back in the orange. In front of him is Freile in the white and black. On the left-hand side, Chalingi in the yellow and black for the home team. Lotte and El Jumbo with 70 kilometres to go. Still having presence in the break. And we're going to watch it be chased down. It's what we expect anyway, but tune in. Plenty of excitement coming up on Eurosport, the home of cycling at the Giro d'Italia. Two pink jersey wearers.
What's he doing over there?
They might have been forgiven for thinking that there was a strange attack then. Thankfully for them it isn't. Tom Dumoulin. He's riding a nice brisk pace though, isn't he?
Yes, it's tri-bars. You're not allowed to do that in the road race.
Disqualification, get the commissars on it. Listen to this. A couple of the Astana riders just helping the crowd out and reminding them to stay back. Beautiful massive colour as Grand Tour season is here. Movistar just joining the chase up the front. They want to keep Alejandro Valverde nice and safe and out of trouble. Don't imagine that Jose Joaquim Rojas is going to be doing any sprinting today. He's on road captain duty here at this Giro d'Italia. Hello to our viewers staying up very late in the evening and watching Down Under in Australia as well on Eurosport Australia. And then hello to Christian Young asking what we make of Caleb Ewan's chances today as well. There's lots of people watching Down Under in Australia hoping that Caleb Ewan can mix it with the big boys. He's just 21 years of age. He has his own exciting brand of sprint as we see some bottle running being done for Astana on the picture. But Caleb Ewan, he sort of launches his body aerodynamically forward. Gets those hands nice and low on the drops. Face almost touching the handlebars sometimes. Some say it's dangerous, but he's certainly young, talented, unpredictable, sure to add excitement to races and sprint finishes. Sean, have you seen much of Caleb Ewan? Do you rate him?
Well, I think yes, certainly he looks a sprinter for the future. The question is, how will he fare out against the big sprinters here? We did see him last year in the Vuelta, where he won a very good stage against Degenkolb. Very impressive. Sagan also was there on that one, but now he's up against, you know, the real cream of the cream, and it's going to be a real test for him. He's in good shape, of course. We've seen him of recent in quite good shape, so that's not going to be the problem. So I think for Ulrika Greenedge, for Caleb Ewan, it's going to be a little bit of you know, see how well he can do against these big guys, and you know, this is going to be a sprint royale, and I can see him being up there. I just don't know how good he's going to be. I think a lot of people are going to be asking and thinking the same. How will he fare out against the real big sprinters?
Well, he won a stage on his maiden Grand Tour last year, but then he wasn't beating Kittel and Greipel, so it sort of illustrates your point, really, doesn't it? He beat Degenkolb and Sagan, fast men, but not as fast, not as big, not as used to winning so many stages as Kittel and Greipel. That was at the Vuelta last year. He won on the line in Alcalá de Guadaira. That was stage 5 of last year's Vuelta. And I know that, again, many of you watching at home down under in Australia, staying up late into the night with us. We look forward to your company throughout the next 3 weeks. And it's a pleasure to tell you that Aaron Lee, who is a cycling reporter for the Eurosport website down under in Australia, has written an Aussie guide to the Giro as well. So if you want to go online, check that out. I'm sure that it will tell you all you need to know about watching the Giro down under in Australia. 4 minutes and 37 seconds for the 3 riders up the front. If you're joining us late, let's remind you who they are. Omar Fraile, the Spaniard for Team Dimension Data. Martin Cialinghi, the local man. I was going to say the local boy, but he's almost retiring now. Late 30s, Martin Cialinghi for Lotto Enel Jumbo. He's the best placed on general classification at 34 seconds. At 59 seconds, you have Giacomo Berlato, who is the young Italian, 24 years of age, from Nippo Vini Fantini. In the pink jersey, the leader's jersey, Tom Dumoulin, the 26-year-old from the Netherlands. In the white jersey, the best young rider in the same team for Giant Alpecin. That's the Swedish rider, who's Tobias Ludvigsson. A very good time trial from him yesterday. As we see one of those cars desperate to move up on the left-hand side. Bottle running being done for Astana by the youngster, Kozhatayev, the young rider from Kazakhstan. Just behind him, Davide Malacarne. And Française de Jeu, Murilo Fischer on the left-hand side. Cannondale here in support of general classification objectives. There's Andre Cardoso. Expect him to be used when they get to the mountains. Bottle running job for him today. They also have Cy Clark, another Australian, as road captain. A move over from Orica Greenedge. He was hoping to get his best chances in the classics. He was in excellent form, we were told the other week. A little unlucky in the Hilly Classics though, but Cy Clark, pink jersey wearer, formerly here, who was involved as well in that strange incident with Richie Porte last year that saw Porte penalised for time for taking a wheel off him. But a move for him, and Sean, sometimes when things even are going well for you, but you've been in with a team for a long time, it does give you a kick up the backside to make that move to a different squad, doesn't it?
Well, when you change team, of course, you change, different environment. Sometimes it means a lot, because if you're in a team for a number of years, you get to know all the personnel, directors, sporties, mechanics, and you can get too relaxed. Some riders get settled too much, and then they can just sit back there in the race and not really get motivated. So a change of team, change of colour jersey, change of personnel, sometimes it re-kick-starts a guy's career and he starts to perform that bit better.
I wonder how Fabian Cancellara's feeling today. Fever for the last 48 hours. I think he'll be suffering from disappointment more than any fever or illness today. That was a big chance missed. Sean, you've been looking at the stages in the first week. We were having a chat, in fact, about stages 4, 5, 6, the first uphill finish. In your opinion, could Cancellara stay high up enough on GC to have a chance of taking pink in the Chianti time trial, or is that a big ask, too big of an ask for someone like him?
I think it's going to be too much of an ask, because on stage 6 we have a difficult finish, and I feel that there will be, quite big gaps there in the general classification. So it looks like that, yeah, for the pink jersey, for Cancellara, if he does recover in the next couple of days and get through to the first that time trial on stage 9, I think he will have lost too much time to be able to challenge for pink jersey. But again, it's going to be objective for him now. Try and recover, get your health back, and get through the next couple of days. And then if he is on the recovery move, well, then he can do a good time trial and possibly take a victory there. And it's important as well, I think, maybe that he continue on this race and try and get have a go for a stage victory, and the time trial I've won is the perfect opportunity.
Omar Fraile, 1 minute and 2 from the Maglia Rosa, 64.2 k's from the finish. Omar Fraile Matarans, to give him his full name. Of course, in Spain, still heavily employ the use of the two last names, mother's maiden name in the traditional sense of the family survives another generation. Movistar, left-hand side, Jesche Sütterlin is the German rider. He'll be going into his home country in about 23 kilometers time. Very, very brief excursion over into Germany. Heading to Nijmegen today. Pass over the huge modern bridge over the River Vaal. And towards the finish. It's almost like a summer's day. I'm not used to this beautiful weather, certainly in the northern starts of the Giro d'Italia we've had. Far cry from when you and I were sat shivering in the commentary box in Belfast 2 years ago.
And not only in Belfast, when we went back to Italy, it was also horrible conditions for the first week or more.
It was Bari, wasn't it, where we had all those crashes the day after.
Unbelievable.
Ian Boswell at the front for Sky. Haven't talked too much about Sky yet, but they do have a sprinter themselves. It's been generally good news for them recently. Of course, they cracked it and won their first monument when Wout Poels won a snowy Liège-Bastogne-Liège last month. It had been a criticism levelled at the team since its creation that they hadn't been able to do it in the big one-day races, in the big 5 historical one-day races. Question is, can they now go on to win the Giro, as we see the vests that were employed so well by Tinkoff last year being used again? You can see the contrast between the old method on the left-hand side being used by Edix Quickstep and Matteo Trentin, and Ivan Rovny on the right-hand side. I know which I'd rather use. It's funny, you were saying yesterday that a lot of those vests have been checked out by the UCI, haven't they?
Yes, I think it's Camel Pack, which is the vest where you have it's a water container. I haven't seen them in the peloton. It was surprising that it was mentioned in the regulations, the race regulation they were talking about, the UCI. They have to be approved by the UCI. So maybe there's some teams has started to use them in some race, but as yet I haven't seen them. But we did see the vest there with Tinkoff. It's something that I don't think it's taken off big time. It's only that team has been using them. Difficult when you have 5-6 bottles in a gilet sort of vest and try to put that on. We see Rovny there trying to get it on. It's not easy to do when you're moving along at 35-40 kilometers per hour. It becomes, it is very, very heavy with 5 full bottles. It's a difficult one to manage.
It's bad enough trying to get a gilet or a rain cape on, isn't it, when you're moving? Certainly with all the cars around as well, and there's a very understandable nervousness about cars and bikes in the peloton given the recent awful incidents. The Dutch windmills turned pink for the Giro d'Italia. Oh, you talked about Sky with Mikel Landa yesterday. What about their sprinter Elia Viviani? He sort of managed to burst through that glass ceiling last year when he did finally win that Grand Tour stage he'd been looking for a long, long time. But you get the feeling that he might have to look after himself a little more this year, given the fact that last year the track star had Bernie Eisel, Salvatore Puccio wrapping him in cotton wool towards the end of stages. This time the team seems so much more centred around the mountains, and it's leader Mikel Landa following wheels that something's brought Viviani more than a few victories in his year and a half at Sky so far. He's been the perfect sprinter for that GC-based team, if you'd like. He doesn't necessarily need a big lead-out train, so it shouldn't bother him too much.
No, I think Viviani is a one who can just follow. He's like Robbie McEwen. He just can follow up there once he's... If you have one rider, maybe just to keep him up and get him into that position in the final 15-20 kilometres, and then he can hold his place there. Of course, coming from the track, you know, those guys, their bike handling is excellent, so they can just move around in the front of peloton, first 25-30 places and stay there, and then in the end just follow the other big sprinters, the big trains by the sprinter teams, and he's done that, and I think he's going to have to do that same. And he's won very, very good sprints, very good stages in that way, and I can't see a problem for him to do that again in this Giro. The other thing is Nicholas Roach. I think he had a real good performance yesterday, because 30 seconds for him in the prologue, that was a real strong ride from him. Because you look at some of the other riders, you know, Uran, Landa, of course, a lot of the general classification men much further down than Nicholas Roach in the prologue yesterday.
Good result for Roach. A little worrying for Uran and other riders as well. Not panic stations, because it's a matter of seconds, but as we said earlier on, could be an indication of form. Mountains, though, are quite a way away yet. On the flat in the Netherlands on the Giro. Peloton 4 minutes and 16 seconds behind the three-man breakaway. Berlato is up there, as is Cialinghi and Fraile. Italian, a Dutchman and a Spaniard. Just 4 kilometres away from the first of 2 intermediate sprints. There will be intermediate sprint points available. There'll be no bonus seconds at the first sprint, however. A lot of teams a little further behind, just fighting for position still. Not exactly going to bring this back before the second intermediate sprint, though, and second lot of bonus seconds. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they're only 12 kilometres apart, and there's still a gap of 4 minutes 15 seconds. Songhiso Chim at the back in the white. And that's Nicola Ruffoni from Bardiani in the green. We're in Overasselt on our way to Malden for the first of 2 intermediate sprints. Very flat roads around here. Just after we get to Bergendal, we'll have a 1 kilometre climb, and it's a proper little berg, up to 12% the gradient. King of the Mountains points on offer. Sean, you'd expect those King of the Mountains points to go to these guys today, wouldn't you? Still with a lead of 4 minutes and 11 seconds. There's no panic to bring them back.
No, we should see those guys you know, contesting the mountain classification, and it's going to be a really big fight to get the top of the climb in the first position, because the guy who does that, well, he gets a jersey today, and that is always important in a big 3-week tour. Challenging, of course, you know, I think the team will be really pushing him. I'd be a little bit concerned about the gradient. If it wasn't as steep, you know, Challenging is very, very strong on 3 or 4% of a climb, 5%, but when it goes up to 10%, 11%, he could have, you know, some of these guys, Frey could be a match for him here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got into the break early on today, and he obviously wanted breakaway companions, didn't want to have to do all the work himself, but he must have looked round and thought, oh, not the King of the Mountains from the Vuelta a España, surely.
No, not the perfect one, but of course, you cannot just make a selection and say, well, guys, you and you come with me in the break today. It doesn't work like that.
It's not quite like picking teams in the schoolyard, is it?
No.
Is Fabian Cancellara picked for the team for the Giro d'Italia in his final season as a professional. Goes back to see Derek de Mol, sports director who's looked after him for quite a few years. A few rumours that Trek Segafredo are after signing John Degenkolb with the money that might be available after Cancellara and his wages off the wage bill. That's a big thing. You can expect at least one big signing for Trek over the next winter with Cancellara's wages going off the bill. Whether they go for another GC contender, which is what they were looking for. Classics guy, even though there's a lot of young Classics guys coming through and taking things very, very well behind Fabian Cancellara, or if they go for a sprinter. I think Degenkolb will fit nicely into the last two categories, wouldn't he?
Well, Degenkolb certainly for the Classics, he'd be a the replacement for Fabian Cancellara. He's a proven rider. He is a rider who is very consistent. Also, he can do well in the stage races where he takes stages in all of those races. So yeah, I would see where Degenkolb would be a real good signing for Trek Segafredo.
Well, the rumour mill is underway. From here to the Tour de France, the Vuelta a España. You might hear him mention with a couple of other suitors as well. It's nowhere near a done deal, but they're the first early voices coming out. Chalingi's the Dutchman at the front here. Wearing that yellow jersey, has time for a look around over at the river. Dutch team riding an Italian brand of bikes, a very famous brand of bikes, Bianchi. Of course, as part of the sponsorship this year, Battaglin was taken on as well. I think they're encouraged to take on an Italian rider or two. They're 1 kilometre from the first intermediate sprint of this Giro d'Italia. And there's the graphic that confirms it. Malden. A few kilometres down the line, they'll then head to Groesbeek and the Liberation Museum. Stelletics Quickstep helping out Giant Alpecin control things at the front. Gap goes to under 4 minutes. Had a slower third hour than the opening 2 hours. Opening 2 hours at 42 kilometres per hour. Average speed after 3 hours went down to just under 41 k's an hour. So a little slower than the average time. But they know they don't want to catch these three guys too early. Certainly with the chaos that will bring about to the race, with GC guys nervous. And of course, plenty of sprint trains today fighting for one of 7 possible sprint wins. Here we go, look around. Bellato shakes his head. How much is this going to be contested? Of course, there are intermediate sprint prizes. There's money for each intermediate sprint one as well. But the points jersey, that's going to go onto the back of the stage winner today. 50 points available for the man crossing the line first. And I think that little shake of the head, Sean, showed that nobody was going to contest that one.
Surprising nobody contested. I thought there would be some little bit of an effort there, but they just left Chalingi riding on the front. He rolled through there and takes maximum points.
There's those brand new blue jerseys that you might not be used to seeing at the back. Somebody getting rather excited about them. They belong to the Gazprom Rusfellow team. Of course, Rusfellow having new investment in the winter. They used to wear a sort of white, red and blue, almost Russian flag national jerseys. They now wear the blue of the company that sponsors them. And they're in the Giro d'Italia for the first time. Rider you saw at the back there was Artur Ershov. Confirmation then of sprint points for Martin Chalingi. 10 of them for the Dutch rider. Buon pomeriggio to Vincenzo Nibali. Just been back to the car. No panic here. National Champions jersey on his back still. Of course, the last time he was national champion a few years ago, he went off and won the Tour de France after a slow build-up. I think he would have been given a bit of a confidence boost yesterday. We said it's not going to affect things too much, but having a bit of a gap on the rest of the GC contenders will have been good for him yesterday. Of course, he's got the same team more or less around him as when he won the Tour de France, and it's important, Sean, to have a team that you trust, isn't it?
Well, yes, to know the riders, and they know him very well, and there's a lot of the riders there. We can see that Scarponi is the one who is just taking him back up into the tail end of the peloton and just moving up on the on the right-hand side as we look at a picture here. And yeah, it is the way in teams. And of course, there's that Dana we have seen there in the past year, 2 years. There's a bit of a split there. There is the Vincenzo Nibali band, and then there's the Arus group, and you know, they're working in different ways, and you know, they just go with those riders to most of the races during the season. And certainly Nibali, he will have, you know, a lot of the riders that he feel that are the ones that he needs to win this Giro.
.5 kilometres to go. It's stage 2 of this 2016 Giro d'Italia, the 99th edition of the Tour of Italy. We've had our first intermediate sprint. We're only 10 kilometres out from the next intermediate sprint, and we're going to have bonus seconds given out there. Gap of 3 minutes and 43 though means that they're not really going to be important on the day, Sean.
No, I don't see, you know, anybody really contesting, except for the points classification. Of course, there is, you know, quite a number of points picked up here. So some of the sprinters, as we can see, Lampre are the ones who are starting to pull on the front of the peloton. So yes, there's riders, and again, we can see Trek here having a go. So the riders who are thinking of points classification at the end of the race are going to have a go here.
So this is still the first intermediate sprint as far as those behind are concerned, and Nizzolo is the man who wants to try and defend the jersey this year. And here's the man who goes out sprints and takes the points ahead of Modolo, and the man behind him, Viviani. 55 there's Christian Sbaragli. Andre Greipel not bothering, Marcel Kittel not bothering, saving themselves for the end.
Well, I think that gives, you know, an indication of the guys what they're going to go for in this Giro at the end of the race. And the guys who start doing those sprints, you know, like this one, the first sprint of the Giro, they're the guys who are thinking of the points classification at the very end of the race.
It's Giacomo Nizzolo in the white and black there. He's the man who won the points classification last year. We must add, without winning a single stage. The man on the right in the fuchsia pink just getting there ahead of the Sky rider on the left. Modolo beating Viviani. White and black at the back was, of course, Christian Sbaragli, another Italian sprinter who won a Welter stage last year. First sighting of Roberto Ferrari and his big hair coming out from under the helmet on stage on the left of Varmi. As we're back with the breakaway, 3 minutes 20. That gap's gone down by about 40 seconds. That's only because of all the action that was going on behind.
Just shows in the end, you know, how quickly the advantage come down. 20 seconds there in a number of, you know, 300 or 400 meters. When they up the pace for that sprint, it comes down so quickly. And you know, the moment they start racing in the front of the main part of the peloton, this 3:22 of advantage will, you know, come down very quickly. And still with 52 kilometers to go, now out front are 3 men. They are thinking at this GPM classification. This is going to be the important one for the breakaway, because they know they have, you know, no chance of holding out here to do anything at the end of the stage for a stage victory. So it's all about the mountain classification for the 3-man breakaway.
First sign of a Lotto Soudal rider towards the front in the red jersey. Andre Greipel thinking about things. Well, let's chat about that points classification. Nizzolo says he aims to defend it, and we saw that there with his little sprint. Marcel Kittel's ridden 2 Giro road stages so far in his career and won both of them. We don't expect him to last the full distance to the end of the race. He might climb off before the mountains, but rather surprisingly, one man who does want to finish the Giro, who says he's targeting the red jersey but didn't go for the sprint there, is Andre Greipel. Sean, does that mean for you he's more confident about winning stages outright and taking the big points towards the end of the day?
Yes, I think you know, you could maybe look at, you know, the points available on the intermediate sprints, and then look at the stages and say, well, we'll concentrate 100% on the end of the stage victory. And also there's, you know, big amount of points for the points jersey there to be picked up as well. And you know, the stage victory in the first days, I think with Greipel and his team, he'll be saying against Kittel, we have, you know, to try and, you know, be at our best here and see can we beat Kittel, because that is going to be, I think, a little bit of concern for Greipel. The way Kittel is going at the moment, you need to be at your best to try and beat him in this early days of this Giro.
Well, they have a top lead-out train to Lotto Soudal. Some really good riders here. No Greg Henderson to do the final lead-out, which is what Andre Greipel is used to. But still have some brilliant riders. Likes of Wellens, back, De Bie, Hansen's there. We talked about length yesterday. Ligtaert and Montfort, with Roulants, who's a very fast man, and Van den Dert as well. Fast finisher. We've seen him up there on the podium in the Amstel Gold Race a couple of times.
Nice pad.
Not a bad one, is it, if you can afford it? He might be able to soon if he keeps that pink jersey for a while. Tom Dumoulin.
If he wins the Giro, maybe.
He says he can't do it. I think there's a few people think that he might not be telling the full truth there. Tom Dumoulin in pink has been enjoying reading up on his cycling history. Just finished reading a book on Gino Bartali, apparently. Let's go and hear what his own coaches have been reading up on him. Mark Rafe, the Giant Alpecin Director Sportif.
Morning, as you can see, this is the big crowd we had behind, not just journalists, but also all the people that came here to congratulate the team and also Tom Dumoulin. Mark Rafe, congratulations for yesterday pink jersey. You had the goal and you made it. How was the day for you?
Yeah, incredible, really incredible. I think it was a goal for a long time already. We worked hard for it. It was a big pressure for the team, but especially for Tom, of course, to win. With all the people here in Holland expecting that he would win, and yeah, that we could make it. It gave a really good feeling.
And how is it gonna be the day today? Already with the pink jersey in the home country of the team, it must be for sure something really special.
Yeah, of course, it's really special. It's always special to have it to have a jersey and the leading jersey in the Grand Tour. But to be here in Holland, we were yesterday. The time trial was very. I said it also yesterday, close to our service course, and yeah, now to enjoy it, to take the lead in the bunch and to defend it immediately. It's very special to do that.
And the redundant question, the question that everyone is doing, as we saw Tom Dumoulin climbing so good in the Vuelta a España, is how long he will be able to keep this jersey and defend it.
I think it's totally depending on today what will happen. We know that Marcel Kittel is at 11 seconds. He showed in the past already that he's one of the top sprinters, and when he's taking today the victory, he's already at 1 second from Tom. And when he's taking a podium tomorrow, then he will have the jersey in Italy. And then of course it's already that we lose him. But then I think on stage 4 it's a pretty hard day. That Marcel will not survive, and then it's a possibility to take it back. And when we have it still in stage 4, then I think we can take it for a long time.
Well, that's Giant Alpecin looking ahead. We're looking at what we're seeing on the screen right now at Groesbeek. That's the Liberation Museum, set in that beautiful landscape near Nijmegen, Arnhem and the German border. We are crossing into Germany very soon. As you can see, Operation Market Garden, the largest airborne operation in history, took place here in September 1944. Meantime, Operation Avoid the Traffic Cones. A few riders taking the bike path. Thankfully, everybody surviving. Tinkoff on the left-hand side, looking after Rafał Majka. They raced heavily to the front. They really did, alongside Astana last year. It was Aru versus Contador, one train versus another. Racing extremely fast and keeping their leaders safe. In the meantime, the passion continues to go at the finish. We're waiting the arrival in Nijmegen. We'll be back right after this. Everyone, welcome back. It's a beautiful sunny day, and if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Giro d'Italia, the second stage of this 99th edition of the Tour of Italy, on the way from Arnhem to Nijmegen today in the Netherlands. Dutch start, the third Dutch start, the 12th foreign start, and we have a Dutchman in the break, a retiring Dutchman in fact, Martin Cilingi in the yellow and black. Just in front of him in the white is Omar Fraile, the man from Spain. Giacomo Berlato just peeling off from doing his turn. And they've ridden nicely together so far. "46 kilometers remain. 3 minutes and 44 seconds is the gap. Heading towards the second intermediate sprint, there are points available again. There are bonus seconds for these three guys as well. And a very warm welcome back to those of you watching on Eurosport in the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. Heading to the second of the two intermediate sprints today, and this is the one that carries bonus seconds. And with a gap of almost 4 minutes again though, peloton GC guys, Marcel Kittel and his pink journey, or journey towards pink, might have to wait. It looks as though these three riders should take the bonus seconds. We're heading up to Bergendal. This is where the King of the Mountains will take place as well, just in a few kilometers time. Intermediate sprint points to be given out first though. Great crowds out here. Cilingui's the man in the yellow, Berlato just behind him. Dimension Data having their presence with Fraile behind in the white and black. And you can just see just up ahead, that is where the intermediate sprint banner is. The last one we saw wasn't contested. I wonder if Cilingui's just going to be allowed to ride through here again. Seems as though that will be the case. Of course, the next fight is going to be for the King of the Mountains jersey. Cilingui allowed to take both of them, Sean?
Yes, surprisingly that, yes. In the first one I thought there would be a little bit of a sprint between the three riders of the breakaway, but no one continued through the second intermediate sprint the same way. It's not going to continue like that for the mountain classification here. They will try, because at the end there's a jersey to take here, and that is an important one for the team, for the rider themselves, and they are going to, you know, fight out big time for the mountain classification point coming up soon.
Heading off towards Germany now. Just 4.5 kilometers away from the town of Weiler, entering the state of the North Rhine-Westphalia region. And this is where the road starts to get a little more lumpy. Extremely fat back towards into the arrival in Nijmegen though. 44.5 k's to go. You can just see each and every rider has got the stage profile taped onto their stem on their bars. Some riders sometimes have messages taped down there as well, motivational messages. Remember one early race in the season, I think it was Scheldeprijs, the Sprinters Classic in Belgium, very close to the Netherlands, in Antwerp. Tyler Farrer had some big motivational message all the way down the top tube on his bike, drawing a picture of a shark with teeth as well. There's confirmation of those sprint points. 44 kilometers remain, and remember there are sprint points again for riders up there. You can just see a few Trek Segafredo riders up there again, maybe for Giacomo Nizzolo. Giacomo Nizzolo did beat Mark Cavendish twice in the recent Tour of Croatia, but I'm not sure how he fancies his chances, pardon me, of beating all of Kittel, Greipel and the rest of them as we go past the Canadian War Cemetery. Intermediate sprint time. Nizzolo being dragged up into position again behind Elia Viviani, trying to get in on the act. On the right hand side it's Matteo Trentin who's in the blue, trying to get things as well. Nizzolo being led out. Remember, he took the points on the last one. Nizzolo defending the red jersey, trying to get up there as well. You can see Nikias Arndt, the German, on the left hand side. It's Nizzolo who's the strongest at the minute though. Nobody seemingly able to get around him. Looks around for one last time, and it is Nizzolo who fights his way to those points. And his defence of the red jersey has got off to rather a good start. Sprinter from Milan, Giacomo Nizzolo, out there being aggressive and Sean, we talked about the big fastest guys not getting involved here. Nizzolo probably knows his own limitations, if you like, without being disrespectful to him. He knows that he isn't as fast as Kittel or Greipel. Not to say that he can't beat them on his given day, but the probability is that he's going to have to try and mop up as many points if he wants to defend that red jersey as well. Second and final intermediate sprint out of the way then on stage 2 of this Giro d'Italia. .42 kilometers to go. Both intermediate sprints out the way. Both of them won by the breakaway, but the points mopped up by Giacomo Nizzolo twice as well. One of the Filia jerseys at the back, formerly the Southeast Venezuela team, now Filia Venezuela. Filia Southeast, pardon me. Venezuela is the sponsor that's disappeared. And that was Julen Amezqueta, the Basque rider there. Points overall standing looks like this before the final sprint. Martin Cialinghi has 40, Berlato in second with 20, Frailes there with 20 in third. Dumoulin, who was leading before today. Roglic has the red jersey on his back today in fifth. But Sean Kelly, with Kittel, Greipel and everybody getting 50 points for the stage win today, it looks as though the stage winner will be wearing red.
Yes, certainly the case. The stage winner will take that points classification, and the guys who are thinking of the overall classification, the points at the end of the race, they are, you know, contesting those sprints, and we can see the ones who are doing that. The big sprinters, I suppose, Kittel, Greipel, not contesting, and it can mean a lot in the end when you make 2 sprints, although they were not really contested hotly. Still, it takes that little bit out of you, and it's going to be the interesting one. The guys who are contesting those sprints now, can they match some of the bigger sprinters at the end of the stage, and can they actually beat them?
That is the question. Stay tuned to find out with 40 kilometers to go. Stam Schneider still on the front. Not too far behind him, we've seen Verona doing a lot of work for Edix Quickstep today before we get to the mountains, and he'll be given a bit more protection then. Meantime, the massive colour around, the thousands and thousands of people on the side of the road to watch the Giro d'Italia. It's a great day for it. The crowd has responded brilliantly. And just to get an estimation of these crowds, if any of you were in Northern Ireland, in Belfast for the start a couple of years ago, the organisers of the Giro said yesterday that there were twice as many people here that were in Belfast. And I remember walking around on that day, you couldn't move for people, it was packed through. Imagine twice as many people as that. Brilliant, brilliant turnout. Fraile, Cialinghi and Berlato at the front. Berlato yet to get a win in his career. 40 kilometers to go, and we're heading into Germany. German fans also on the side of the road, as you'd expect. Cycling, big business again in Germany. The Deutschland Tour coming back next year, we're told. Had to coincide with the Tour de France start in Düsseldorf. Well, formerly a Dutch team, still based in the Netherlands, but with a German sponsor. They're German registered now, Giant Alpecin. They're leading the race, pardon me, here. And let's hear from the man they name the Maastricht Butterfly, Tom Dumoulin.
Good day today. We see you in pink. You must be very excited about today.
I am, yeah. It's going to be a really cool day, I hope.
How does it feel? You had a goal and you made it, and now you're in your home country with this pink jersey.
As you can imagine, it feels really, really cool and very, very special.
Thank you. Enjoy the day.
Really cool and very special. Apparently the Maastricht Butterfly is a nickname that's been given to him by the press, but he's not supposedly very fond of it, so we won't mention it too much. Yesterday, though, was the happiest day of his life on a bicycle, he said. He left medical school behind to concentrate on his pro cycling career. Wasn't such a bad decision after all. As we head into Germany and into the town of Weiler. Peloton just behind, just leaving Dutch roads, heading across the border. Won't be too long that we spend in Germany, just a couple of kilometers in fact, before turning back towards the town they just left in Bergendal. And this is confirmation on your screen that we are heading across the border. We're told that the major landmark in Weiler is in fact St. Johannes Church, a small sleepy town, very, very close to the Netherlands border. Well, still 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Sean, when is it that a lot more teams will start to get interested behind? It's certainly not panic stations with the gap yet. It's very controllable still.
Yeah, it's very much under control for the back in peloton. You know, it's very much in control at the moment. Just over 3 minutes with 38 kilometers to go. So the general classification men. For Tom Dumoulin, the sprinters teams are not concerned at all of having to start to push on at this moment. But again, as you get closer to the finish, it just starts to get a bit more nervous, and more teams will start to appear, and then the speed will go up in the peloton, and that's when it really gets hot and hectic, and everybody pushing for position, not giving any space, and disadvantage will come down very quickly. With 37 kilometers to go and just over the 3 minutes, there's no concern at the moment. At this point we're on quite small roads at the moment, but when we get on to the final 2 laps, which is just around the 8 kilometers, the roads are a bit bigger, they're a bit larger, which will be very much welcomed by the riders because there's a bit more space there, but still there's a lot of roundabouts to be negotiated, so that will make it that bit dangerous. But considering what we've seen where the peloton have been through, there's some very, very narrow roads here in Holland, and we're going to be out of them for the final, and that will be very important for safety of the riders.
Yeah, you talk about the nerves in the peloton here. Just explain maybe to our new viewers why it's so nervous. Is it to do with the time gaps and general classification riders, everybody wanting to be there?
Yes, everybody wanting to be in the front. In the earlier days of a big 3-week tour, everybody is fresh, so everybody can ride to the front. They all have got that energy, and in that top 20-30 places of the peloton, you have so much riders and teams coming up left and right all the time, so there's movement there. You can be right in the front of the peloton, then a group of riders come left and right, and suddenly you find yourself in 30th, 40th position in the peloton, so then you have to move out to the side. If you're a very good bike handler, you can move within that group, and there is some riders can do that. They can just snake through the middle of that group and find themselves back in that top 15 or 20 riders again. But most of riders, they have to be taking up on the outside, left or right, by teammates, and that movement is going on all the time. And as you get closer to the finish, it just starts to build, and it starts to go faster and faster. And of course, when you're going that bit faster, then it becomes more difficult to move, and it's just energy sapping all the time. So as you get closer to the finish, we will see teams and 5-6 riders of a team moving up left and right all the time, and that's when we get into this final 25-30 kilometers. But when there's no concern for the time gap of the breakaway out in front, you can get inside maybe the 20 kilometers to go mark before it really starts to get highly nervous.
2 kilometers to go to the first categorized climb of this Giro d'Italia. It's a 4th category climb. We don't have too many 4 category climbs. You can see that maximum slope. The biggest gradient is 12%. It's just over a kilometer long to Bergendal. 3 guys out there in the break still, just less than 3 minutes of an advantage. They're going to fight it out for the first King of the Mountains jersey of this Giro d'Italia. And with nobody having any points yet, it is simple enough that the winner takes the blue jersey. First categorised climb of the Giro coming up. Bergendal, fourth category. Behind, everybody still riding together in the peloton. There's Vincenzo Nibali, the big favourite for this Giro in his Italian national champions jersey. He of course rides for the team in the turquoise jersey from Kazakhstan, Astana. So how's it going to go here? Martin Cialinghi, remember, took all the points a couple of years ago. We were in Ireland. He's in the yellow jersey here, but look out for the king of the mountains in the white and blue from the last Tour of Spain, Omar Fraile. Berlat on the left-hand side, the young pretender from Italy in the orange. Everybody looking at each other as Fraile's on the right-hand side. Who are you backing here, Sean?
Well, Fraile would be quite fast here, but again, it depends on actually where the sprint is. If it's a little bit easier, not the steepest section at the top, well then we could see Cialinghi, because he is real powerful. But we can see here a lot of tension here. Everybody just waiting, nobody wanting to pull on here.
Well, that little barrier there you can see is 35 kilometres to go. The climb continues past this point. It's 1.1 kilometre long at the minute. Nobody thinking and getting it wrong that was the moment they had to start sprinting. Here is Fraile on the right hand side, and you can see the meters numbered down, 50 meters at the top. Everybody looking across the road. This is the first prize of this Giro d'Italia on a road stage before we get to the big business of the stage win later on today. Pink jersey shouldn't really change hands today, but with 500 meters to go to the top of this climb, 12% of a maximum gradient, I think out of the way most of it. Average gradient still at 7%. A proper climb to start the King of the Mountains competition in this Giro d'Italia. They're hard on the legs, these sorts of climbs around this part of the world, Sean, aren't they?
Well, we can see here, you know, it's not only just the difficulty of the gradient, but also the nerves here. We can see the three riders riding side by side, everybody just waiting, nobody wanting to take it up too early.
And everybody desperate to cheer Cialinghi, the man in the middle, to victory. He's the Dutchman in the yellow, but it's Fraile on the right-hand side who's launching it a little quicker, looks around, wonders where Cialinghi is, and Cialinghi on the right-hand side, coming around in the yellow, looking to try and get it, but it's Fraile who launches it, the man who was King of the Mountains at the WorldTour last year. Fraile is there, taking a big run and a jump on everyone else. 125 metres to go, but Cialinghi fighting for a prize in his last Grand Tour. Left-hand side, he's going to go for the line. It's Fraile who will get it though, and Omar Fraile, King of the Mountains at the Vuelta a España last year, will pull on the first King of the Mountains jersey at this Giro d'Italia. He takes the first fourth category climb of this Giro. Cialinghi in second place, and behind him poor Berlato left in third, not really in the competition. Our first bit of sprinting entertainment today.
Yes, it was certainly a little bit of a track sprint there. We could see the three riders just side by side, and yeah, Fraile, yeah, the more explosive on the climb, and I think we could see that the last bit it was, you know, the percentage, it was certainly up to that 10-12%, and Cialinghi, of course, you know, he doesn't like that real steep gradient, and that forecasted Fraile was the strongest of the three.
Fraile is who takes the points, and the blue King of the Mountains jersey. Behind, the attention will now turn to closing this gap and getting ready for the sprint. On the right-hand side, you can see the man in the red helmet with the black jersey on, the two white stripes down the middle. That's Cheng Ji, the Chinese rider, riding to try and keep Tom Dumoulin safe in the pink jersey today. Cannondale trying to do the same in green for their leader, Rigoberto Urán. It's André Cardoso at the back wearing number 42. Wearing 2-1-4 there, riding for Villa is Liam Bertazzo. And a man who seems to have stayed at the back all day long, very much in Luca Paolini style, is Jack Bobridge, the Australian national champion. Likes to sit there. Right side Movistar, making sure that Alejandro Valverde does not get caught up. This is one of the first nervous moments for GC riders, Sean. Up on this hill, nobody wants a silly touch of wheels, do they?
No, everybody wants to get onto the climb in a good position, and we can see there, you know, there's a lot of the teams, general classification men, trying to, you know, hold that position out front, and 33 kilometres to go, 2:23 at the moment. Now it's going to be a time where we will see the thing, I think, just slowly to build up as we get closer to finish. I think there will be an up in pace all the time, and it's been a pretty easy day for a first day of a big 3-week tour. It has been a casual enough day for most, but it's going to be, I think, a very, very fast final.
Very, very fast finale indeed. You can see the Polish flag there, showing Wisniewski on. Riding for Marcel Kittel today. Front of the chasing peloton is now over the climb. There's number 116 at the back, Pim Lichthart, riding for Lotto Soudal. Job for him and the rest of his red-clad Lotto Soudal crew. The Gorilla Greipel, ready to try and challenge big Marcel Kittel for the victory. And a whole host of other contenders, many of them from Italy. 32.5 kilometers to go, as we get confirmation that Omar Fraile will pull on the first blue jersey of this Giro d'Italia. He leads the mountain classification by a point from Martin Cialinghi. "30 kilometers remain. We're all setting up for a probable sprint finish in the city of Nijmegen in the Netherlands. It's the Giro d'Italia Stage 2. Stage 2 of 3 that will take place in Dutch territory before heading down to the south of Italy to continue the journey into pink. Riding pink and wearing pink today is a Dutchman, Dumoulin. No Dutchman has ever won the Giro. Dumoulin, though, had the happiest day of his life on a bike since leaving medical school. Brad Wiggins won the opening TT of the last Giro visit to the Netherlands 6 years ago. 2 seasons later, he went on to win the Tour. Although Giant Albertine want to take off all the pressure away from Dumoulin's shoulders, we could be looking at a Grand Tour winner there in pink over the next few years. There he is, Dumoulin. Nice little pink bands on the shorts as well. Looks very, very classy today. Approaching the 30k to go mark, with the breakaway still out there at 2 minutes and 25. Omar Fraile, the Spaniard, in conversation with the Dutchman Cialinghi. While we're away on the break, we heard a very interesting conversation between Ralph Aldag, the coach of Dimension Data in the car there following behind, and Omar Fraile, basically saying, well, do what you want now, you've got the jersey. If you want to keep on riding, make sure you keep contributing, but don't kill yourself out there, Sean, he was saying.
Yes, that's what he was saying, and if they want to ride, well, you ride with them, and just same as everybody else. But it looks like that they're not as committed as they were a bit earlier on before the mountain classification points. Still, you know, 2:25 at the moment, but with just under 30 kilometers to go. I think they realise that their advantage is not big enough to have a go for it here and really, you know, give it everything the 3 hour front. They just haven't got enough of a time gap with any chance to stay to the finish off stage.
Well, heading to Nijmegen, you can see the peloton stringing out a little bit more now. Everybody starting to switch on, getting very serious. You can see the first of those many traffic islands that we're going to see over the last 30 kilometres come into play. They're about to go under that 30 kilometre banner, so the breakaway still a kilometre up the road with 2 minutes and 25 seconds of a gap. And now Ethics Quickstep on the front in the blue alongside Giant Albertine, and it's here we start to see the sprinters team switch on.
Yes, well, we can see the sprinters teams coming to the fore, and Giant Albertine, of course, the race leader, also very much there, and we're going to see more and more of that as we're inside the final 30 kilometres, and you know, this final will be a very, very fast one. It's difficult to picture how fast they're going here, because they are going at a very fast rate. When you look at the front of the peloton, it doesn't give that impression, but when we see the tail end of peloton, then you can see how quick it's going in the peloton, because a lot of riders in the front, you know, looking very comfortable. When you look at the rear end of the peloton, there's a lot of riders just, you know, fighting to stay in contact.
On one of the slowest average speeds predicted today, just over 40 kilometres per hour. No slowing down in the passion of the fans. Look at all the people on the road. Everybody pink, noise out there in the break, just I think enjoying the fruits of their labour today. Big smiles from Cialinghi on his final Grand Tour, and as Sean suggested, not as committed as they were, and I think they're just going to enjoy the time until they're caught now. See, knocking along at 31 k's per hour. Carry on knocking along at that pace, he'll be caught pretty soon. Gap down to 1 minute and 41. Nibali nicely protected. Just behind in the red jerseys, you've got Inu Zakarin protected as well. I think he's one of the guys who probably would have hoped to have been a little better yesterday. Surprised that he was one of the worst off. Oh, and here's a surprise. Freile was wanting to just keep it going. Cialinghi the same, but Berlato wants kilometres. And remember, Sean, there's also a prize for the most kilometres spent in a breakaway during the entire Giro d'Italia, isn't there?
Yes, we've seen so many times in the races, you know, the combativity prize or the kilometres out in front, and that's what Berlato is going for here, try and, you know, stay out in front, get away in his own, get a few extra kilometres, because he know the way they're riding at the moment, as you said, are not going to be out here for too long, because they're really not committed anymore in the breakaway.
You could just see almost the disgusted shake of the head there from Freile, as we've got a mechanical problem for one of the riders from Orica Green Edge. It's Sam Bewley, and he's an important part of the Calabuan setup and lead-out train. Front wheel puncture, should be enough time for him to get nice and back on and no problem, but it is a distraction he could have done without. Very leisurely wheel change, in fact. Calabuan, one of the several sprinters hoping to try and pull on the red jersey at the end of the day. Points jersey. Sam Bewley, the Kiwi, now back up there. The pace is on at the front of the peloton though. Movistar on the right hand side. Visconti's been up there. You can see the man up there as well on the right hand side. Towards the front now is Rojas. Sutelin's there too. Française des Jeux on the left hand side. Remember, they'll be working for Arnaud Demar today. Cialinghi enjoying himself with the local fans. Wonderful image. And he deserves that. All three of them deserve it. They've done their hard work today, Sean. It's done for them now.
Yes, well, they've done their job today. They've been out there in front, and they've picked up what, you know, was for the taking out there, meaning the intermediate sprints and more so the mountain classification, the mountain jersey. And we did see, you know, there was a big battle between all three on that kilometre of a climb, and now, you know, they're just enjoying it here, and Cialinghi is just trying to get the crowd motivated, of course, as the peloton come through. We've seen a number of times back in the front of the peloton as well, a lot of hand signals there, teams, Ethics, Quick Step, and other teams as well, you know, saying to the other teams, you know, can you push it on a bit there, will you take up front to the peloton? And everybody, of course, you know, with just over a minute in advantage, with still 25 kilometres to go, nobody want to, you know, to commit their men. They all want to hold back and spare their powers for the end of the stage.
Cialinghi warming up the crowd. It's almost like the support group when the big band's going to come on afterwards at the concert. The peloton, the sprint finish is going to be the main act. These guys doing the job of warming up the crowds, and plenty of people all around the town of Nijmegen. Considered the oldest town in the Netherlands, as you can see. Lots of reclaimed land around here, and you can see why just behind. Very big bridge that they'll cross on a couple of occasions throughout the circuit. Bridge that crosses the Waal River. If you look down, amongst all that water and the greenery, there's plenty of pink too. Chasers on behind. They're not going to have to do too much to chase them down, because they're not fighting to stay out front now. But with 51 seconds of advantage, it is time for the sprinters to go to work. Oh, and we've had a touch of wheels, we've had a rider or two down. And this is exactly what everybody was hoping to avoid today. Rider down from Lotto Soudal. It's the number 116 who's gone down. That's Pim Ligtart on the left-hand side. 42 there from Cannondale, who's been affected by the crashes. André Cardoso, he's radioing in. And a couple of riders too from Gazprom caught up in the crash. Sean, that's only going to make everybody more and more nervous for these last 25Ks.
Yes, when you have a spill, when you have a crash, well then everybody will start getting a little bit more nervous, and we could see they're very, very much grouped together. Sometimes when it's going at a faster rate, as we can see Sambouli there coming back from his crash, and he just flicks through the cars, but it will make everybody that little bit more nervous.
Andre Cardoso is the Portuguese rider. Just attempted to get everything going. We're still waiting for the car behind. Looks as though those handlebars are just about in a good enough position to keep on racing. But it's a long chase now, and this is the worst time almost of the day to have problems like this, because the pace really is up, and as you can see, it's a real chase for everybody to get back on now.
Yes, and we could see Cardoso. We've seen him all day on the rear of the peloton, and it tells that the crash was quite a long ways back in the peloton, and I don't think he's going to be too concerned, because if you are really concerned about the crashes, well, you would not be hanging around the rear.
Not hanging around is Bettolato, who disappoints those he was riding with again, who just wanted an easy ride. They all wanted to be caught together, and Cialinghi says, we're not having that. You're not going out on your own. Time to go and try and set off to catch Bettolato, who wants to keep this going, and has obviously been told to do so by his team. Nippo Vini Fantini looking for maximum exposure. Bettolato getting out. He didn't get away the first time, getting quite a bit of help from the cars and the motorbikes there, and he's reeled in again. We saw a nasty shake of the head from Fraile last time. Cialinghi it is who does the chasing down on this occasion, and there's still a gap of 48 seconds. Davide Formolo just showing his head to the left-hand side of the pink jersey, Tom Dumoulin. And Rigoberto Urán is the last man in green. Cannondale trying to do a proper protection job for their GC man. This is that bridge over the River Waal we were talking about. Remember, 2 circuits of 8.6 kilometres, and they're a great show for the city of Nijmegen. This bridge, by the way, named the Crossing after the events of World War II. And this version of it inaugurated just 3 years ago in 2013. It's done and dusted though now for the breakaway. 56 seconds, but they've almost stopped pedalling. Onto the bridge, tired out from their exertions, and with the knowledge that there are 19 stages more to go after this one as well. Not too much to play for, with all the sprint teams behind, hardly any of a gap, and the flat terrain. Cannondale and the green on the right-hand side as we saw that. The rider's not the only things getting up ahead of steam today. Not too far away from the first catch of the first break of this 99th Giro d'Italia. Pat on the back, I think, for everybody there. A look behind from Bettolato. 56 seconds as one by one the motorbikes are being brought through and out of the gap. Fraile looking back and saying, come on, catch us already. It's quite clear with the body language that they're done for the day this time. Well, Pim Lichtaert at the back there was one of those men caught up in the crash, the former national champion of the Netherlands. He's back in the peloton, so good news for those riders caught up. Done for the day then in the break. We're off for a quick break ourselves. That's before we get to the big business of the sprint finish. 22 Ks to go. Oh, he's only gone and done it again, hasn't he? Laughing and joking last time, saying he probably wouldn't do it again. Giacomo Bettolato wants that combativity prize. Off he goes on the attack. Cialinghi and Fraile don't bother responding this time with 20 kilometres to go. And Bettolato has given those sprinters behind something to chase. Not sure if all the bosses usually have red roofs, pink roofs rather. 20 kilometres to go. A bit of a pinch point here. First 2 of the 3-man breakaway have been caught. Cialinghi, perhaps in the final breakaway of his Grand Tour career. We'll have to wait 90 more stages to find out if that's the case. Fraile there as well. They're both taken up. Just 14 seconds is the gap for the only survivor so far, this man. Giacomo Verlato, the 24-year-old from Italy. Verlato on the attack again. 23 seconds now. And chasing behind, we see a whole host of different teams. Mikel Landa being kept nice and safe by Sky, but it's mainly about those sprint teams trying to do their business. We get the first sighting on the right-hand side in the red points jersey of Primož Roglic. Slovenian rider who was so good yesterday, just losing out on the pink jersey by 100th of a second. And as Chalingi and Fraile have already been caught, it's Verlato who's still out there on his own with 32 seconds. We don't expect him to cause any problems for the sprint trains behind. I'm sure that they'll all be making sure they take full advantage of the first of 7 possible opportunities for a sprint. We're heading on 2 circuits of 8.5 kilometers in Nijmegen in the Netherlands, and the sprints at this Giro d'Italia have an exceptionally high level. We have 2 of the biggest world sprint stars in Marcel Kittel and Andre Greipel. A couple of young guns who've already picked up wins and are looking to make up the step up to 3-week success in the case of Ewan and Marechko, plus a couple of talented Italians who are all capable of winning: Viviani, Modolo, Pelucchi, and of course the winner of the points jersey last year, Nizzolo. Milan-San Remo winner Demar is here as well and should also be included in the list of star names. There's only really missing Cavendish, Buoni and Sagan. Big favourite we expect to be Marcel Kittel, and Sean, this is the first look we're going to have at the Flamme Rouge, the last kilometre before 2 final laps, and it's important for those sprint stars to have a good look at this.
Well, it's a great opportunity for them to see the final number of kilometres, and they will have that privilege today here, so no excuses in the end. The lead out train, they cannot say, well, I didn't expect this corner, I didn't expect it to be so tight. They will have seen it, and it is going to be one of these big sprints, and we can see Verlato here, he's pushing on. He's probably the one of the 3 who maybe is not getting on the podium, because Chalingi, he's going to get that intermediate sprint classification, and Frey is going to get the mountain classification. And we could see he was having a discussion there. Come on guys, I'm the one out, I'm not going to get on the podium after being out here in the 3-man breakaway all day. So eventually they said, okay, you can go on ahead.
It's the combativity prize he's looking for. And he's also going to get a head start, pardon me, in the Fuga Pinarello prize for the most kilometres in the breakaway. Great ovation as well for the first man across the line. Look at the crowds here in Nijmegen. A nice wide road for the sprint as well, as expected in a few kilometres time. For the minute though, with 2 laps to go, 51 seconds of an advantage for the 24-year-old Italian Giacomo Verlato. And they are here in their thousands today.
Will he hold out?
Well, somebody's going to have to take up the chase. You imagine, Sean, surely there's more than enough teams to take this up.
Yeah, certainly. I think if we can see here, the teams are just taking position on the front of the peloton, but nobody wanting to push on. 50 seconds for the solo leader out front. Everybody is just waiting here, and we could see the run in there. We could see Verlato when with the camera shot back to finishing straight. As you can see, the peloton arriving in. You do not see the finish until you get to that 150, 180 meters before the finish. But advantage, of course, here is they have the privilege of seeing the finish run in a number of times.
Well, the sun is back out, and then hid behind a cloud for the first time all week. Just a moment ago, we thought it was going to get a little dark. Thankfully, blue skies everywhere, and we are 2 laps away from the finish. 8.6 kilometers each circuit here. There are straight urban avenues, really, a few roundabouts around. Route will go back over that wild river again, a couple of times on the bridges. Slight uphill and downhill gradients there. Home straight, as you saw, 350 meters long, 8 meters wide the road. Had a few running repairs to get rid of one traffic island about 200 meters from the line, but that's been concreted over. It's been dried this afternoon. We are 16 k's away from a probable sprint finish. 175 kilometres into the second stage of the Giro d'Italia from Arnhem to Nijmegen, and we have one survivor of a three-man break left. We had Cialinghi, Fraile and Berlato out there. Berlato, the 24-year-old Italian from Nippo Vini Fantini, the Italian second division team, is still out in front with 54 seconds of a gap, being chased down as he goes across the river again. Slight uphill gradient onto this big bridge. Sprinters team starting to get interested behind as well. As you can see, Berlato, as per our graphic, is in the virtual Maglia Rosa. I don't think that's going to last too long, because the man who has the Maglia Rosa on the back of his jersey should be about to keep it today. Barring incident and disaster, you'd expect that to happen. Yes, Marcel Kittel is 11 seconds behind, but with just 10 bonus seconds available at the finish, he can't mathematically take the jersey here. We're on the first of 2 laps around the city of Nijmegen, and Sean, you and I have just been looking at that parkour. Dumoulin, Nibali and the rest might be a little nervous because there's some twists, some turns, some very narrow roads.
Yes, there is narrow sections. We can see there just at the after coming through the finish area, the roundabouts, there were, you know, a little bit of a tight section, so it's going to be always, you know, nervous times for everybody. But at the moment, everything is quite calm, considering we're, you know, just over 13 kilometres from the finish. We can see on the bridge here the peloton very much packed together, and you know, the solo rider out front, Berlato, he is suffering on that little bit uphill. He's been out there a long time, and he's going, you know, for that, the fuga longa, and you know, that's his objective. But the peloton, you know, they're just rolling along here, and it's a position that we do not see maybe a lot of time, because a breakaway much further out, they have to ride faster in the final, but this one is a very, very relaxed final for the moment.
Lots of Française des Jeux jerseys, the white jerseys just behind those of the black-clad team with the pink jersey wearer with it, Giant Alpecin. Sky on the right-hand side, looking to do a double job here. That is number 1, top priority is to protect Mikel Landa, their GC leader. Second, to try and give Elia Viviani the best chance possible of winning the sprint. Interesting that Ethics Quick-Step have pulled off a little in the last 15 kilometres or so. They're sitting at about 30th, 40th place at the minute with Marcel Kittel there. Not worried yet, Sean?
No, not at all, and they have no reason to be worried. You know, with the solo rider out front at a very slim advantage, they're going to just, you know, sit back. And Ethics Quick-Step can do that very well. They have riders who can just stay back when they do not have to ride. But of course, if you have to ride, you have to compete with a number of riders up front, 2, 3, 4 riders. But here they have the luxury of not having to do that. And you know, they're going to sit back to the very end, and then they will appear. And we've seen them already with Kittel this year, number of times. Ethics, they just sit back totally, and then they arrive in that final 2 kilometres. And when they can do that with 5, 6, 7 riders, almost unbeatable.
12 kilometres to go, 40 seconds for the man on the left-hand side. He's travelling at 5 kilometres per hour slower, though, than those chasing him behind. 51 k's an hour, Giacomo Berlato. It's still not a bad effort on the flat after so much of the day so far out the break. Dutch flags are flying, everything decked out in pink. This is the Maglia Rosa group, the lead of the race. Tom Dumoulin just wants to come home safe, I think. Another day in pink tomorrow in his home country, and it will be first job done. Looking for Marcel Kittel. Just look for the white helmets with the blue and black jerseys. They're just to the left, going past that traffic light as you saw it on your screen there. In the meantime, heading back towards the finish is Berlato. You can already see it's a fast circuit, this, and I think once we get to take the bell, the final lap, things will ramp up even more, Sean.
Well, you would expect so. You know, when you get into the final lap, it should start to, you know, really get fast here, and you know, get very, very competitive out in the front of the peloton. We can see here at the moment, you know, on a wide section, they are going at a very fast rate. We did see a moment ago the difference between the peloton and our solo rider out front, Berlato. You know, a number of kilometres in the difference of the speed they're actually travelling. But when we get into that final lap, when they get the bell, then I think you know, ramp up a bit again.
Orsev on the left-hand side is an interesting fast finisher. Sartovic not far away from him in the Katusha jersey as well. That's the big red jersey with the big white K on the back. But who is going to fly to the line first? That's the question. The minute, it is Berlato, not far away, off taking the belt. 26 seconds of a gap. Earpiece in the left-hand side. As you can see, listening to instructions from the director sportif, they will be screaming at him to keep going and do his best to keep that jersey on the television for as long as possible. 10.7 Ks to go, 24 seconds in the meantime. As Sean was explaining, at this point in the race, this early in a Grand Tour, it is relatively relaxed here, although we must say that it always looks a lot easier on the television than the screaming and the shouting, the swearing, or the budging the elbows that happens right in the middle of that. Lotto NL Jumbo do have a sprint opportunity today. He's called Moreno Hofland, wears number 173. Their primary job, though, is to keep Steven Kruijswijk safe. There's their general classification contender. You can see Astana, they haven't really moved from the front alongside Movistar, Sean, for quite a long time.
No, and it's not difficult for a team to take control here because the way they're riding, it's not chopping and changing a lot. So the teams that have been up there, they have been for a number of kilometres.
The wind blowing that Italian flag heavily across the river bridge. The wind getting up as the afternoon's gone on. Hasn't affected things in terms of crosswinds or anything like that, but with 10 kilometres to go on stage 2 of this 2016 Giro d'Italia, we have one man still surviving from the breakaway. That's young Giacomo Berlato, the 24-year-old Italian from Nippo Vini Fantini. His companions from the early break, Fraile and Cialinghi, have been mopped up. Fraile has taken the King of the Mountains points and the blue jersey. Cialinghi has taken both intermediate sprints, and Berlato is not even going to survive to take the bell. He's done, he's dusted. He is the most combative rider on the day, though, and he's about to be absorbed by the peloton that is still 198 riders strong. Sky on the right-hand side looking after their sprinter Viviani, but most importantly, their GC leader. Just to the left of them, with the red helmets and black and white jerseys, that's Giant Alpecin. They have the race leader Tom Dumoulin, all decked out in pink. Movistar in the green and navy blue. They're looking after Alejandro Valverde. Alongside them in the turquoise, that's Vincenzo Nibali, the former Giro, Tour and WorldTour winner. He's in the Italian champions jersey. You have Lotto NL Jumbo in the yellow there as well, looking after their leader, who's Steven Kruijswijk. A little further behind, the two sprint favourites in their red and blue jerseys respectively, Andre Greipel and Marcel Kittel. This is the last look they'll get at the line. They'll take the bell, and then it's time to wind up the sprint with one final lap of 8.6 kilometres. Sean, this is anybody's stage from the big name of sprinters.
Yes, and this is time they go through the finish. They'll not have the opportunity the next time as they come around here, because the pace will be, 10 kilometres an hour at least faster, and it's going to be an interesting one. Who is going to take this first big sprint? And we can see Frances Lejeune, they're bossing there on the front end with 4 or 5 riders. Armand de Marais, will he be able to push up a good finish? And of course, the year he's had, Milan-San Remo, the morale is going to be certainly there, but is he fast enough to challenge against the bigger ones, Greipel and Kittel?
Last lap with 8.6 kilometres to go. Who are the favourites? Who are the protagonists? Who are the sprinters who are going to take this on? The big favourite is the big Val Kilmer Iceman lookalike himself, Marcel Kittel. He's won more bike races than anyone else in the pro peloton this year. 8 victories up against the man who won 4 stages at the Tour de France last year, Andre Greipel. Kittel wearing the blue jersey of Ethics Quickstep, the big German. We're not far from the German border, and it's the other German, the gorilla of Rostock, the Rostock gorilla, Andre Greipel in red for Lotto Soudal. Ready to challenge them, the Italians, Modolo for Lampremerida in the pink and navy blue, Pelucchi in the white for Yam Cycling, also there in the black of Team Sky, Elia Viviani, and Giacomo Nizzolo in the black and white of Trek Segafredo, the points jersey winner from last year. Wearing yellow and white, you can see him at the back of this 3-man train here for Lotto NL Jumbo. You can see Moreno Hofland, but look out for the young upstarts, Jakub Mareczko in the red jersey of Villa Triestina Southeast, and Caleb Ewan, a very, very aggressive sprinting style. His face almost touching the bars at time. The diminutive Caleb Ewan of Orica Green Edge in Australia. Also in the mix, as Sean mentioned, Arnaud Demar, Christian Sparagli, Nikias aren't as well for Gian Alpecin. And what about Nicola Ruffoni of Bardiani? Lots of different contenders. 7 kilometres to go, and it's Lotto NL Jumbo who've made the first move, Sean.
Yes, they're the ones on the front, but we can see Giant Alpecin, 3 riders up there, but they haven't got Dumoulin on tow there. He's a bit further back, and that's what they have to be careful with. They have to be sure that they have the pink jersey right to the front now in these final kilometres.
And with 3 kilometres to go, remember, if there are any accidents, crashes, whatever, after that everybody gets the same time. So it's important to get everybody across the line safe. As you can see, Vincenzo Nibali only in about 5th or 6th wheel there, wants to stay safe. But Sean, nobody wants to have a crash, and you might see a lot of these general classification contenders staying right up there right until the final sprint itself.
Yes, well, I think you have to stay up right to the front, and of course even in the sprint itself, if there's a little bit of a split in the group, you can take a number of seconds very quickly. It's not only the crash, of course if there's a crash and you're caught behind, then you get the same time as the group you're in when that crash occurred, but still everybody will fight all the way to the line.
Caleb Ewan on his own surfing the wheels. He's the man in the white, green and blue jersey right at the base of your picture now as the camera zooms into him. Caleb Ewan wearing number 143, 2 wheels behind Vincenzo Nibali. Remember, Orica Greenedge for the first time in a Grand Tour coming to support a general classification leader, and that of course is young Esteban Chavez, 26 years of age, from Bogota in Colombia. So not too much support for Ewan. He's forced to chase his own opportunities in the sprint. 5.9 k's to go as again it takes shape. Valverde is kept up safe by Movistar. Oran the same for Canadel. Oran's the man on the right hand side, Sean, just moving up, and his team attempting to keep him up there, but he's struggling to keep the right wheel at the minute. Still no Dumoulin though in the pink. Of course they're looking after Nikias Arndt too. He's the last man in the line here in the black jersey wearing 152, the German sprinter, but it's very surprising that Dumoulin isn't in that train.
Yes, it is surprising. You would be expecting them to to be having a look about, and maybe they're just preparing the sprint here, but Dumoulin, he's a little bit further off as race leader when you see Nibali where he is, and the other favourites, Valverde, all very much in the top 15-20 riders.
The battle of GC leaders and sprint trains with 5 kilometres to go on the first road stage of this Giro d'Italia. It's stage 2. We're in the Netherlands. We're on the way to Nijmegen. It's the second and final circuit around the city. A city of about 190,000 people. Left-hand side, Française Desjeux moving up. They are all in for Arnaud Démare today. Still no sign of Ethics Quickstep and Marcel Kittel. The pink jersey on the back of Tom Dumoulin somewhere in this big massive colour that is the professional peloton, heading over the river, back out and then into town again. It's still nervy. No one team wanting to take it up. Lotto Soudal, Ethics Quickstep, the 2 main sprint teams, still way back. You can see Ethics Quickstep on the right hand side there in the blue jerseys, getting a little lost towards that Ethics Quickstep train. The pink jersey of Tom Dumoulin. Sean, you're very surprised about that.
Yes, well, you can see there he is not too far off, but still you would expect him to try and stay up there with his teammates who are very much at the front, but again, easier said than done. Dumoulin, maybe he doesn't like that pushing for position right out on the front end of the peloton, and at the moment he is in a pretty good position, but still I would prefer to see him a bit closer. But again, it's not a disastrous situation at the moment, but it's still going at a pace because we can see the way it's very, very packed together. That tells that it's not going at full speed here in this peloton.
Tosato, the oldest man in the race in the fluorescent yellow, trying to bring up Rafał Majka, who's on the right hand side, making a huge effort to move up. Now Tinkoff was so good at this with Alberto Contador 12 months ago in the Giro. They're trying to do the job again with Rafał Majka, a small climber, not a man who enjoys being up there in the bunch sprints. He's on the left hand side as Arnaud Démare is moved up for Française Desjeux. They're in the white, blue and red jerseys. Tosato trying to put the pace on. 3.5 kilometres to go. Still no sign of Ethics Quickstep. If you remember at the Dubai Tour this year when they were so good for Marcel Kittel, he took the overall, took the sprint stages. They moved up only in the final 2 kilometres, and on those flat days they did so at the right time, beating Cavendish, and Greipel, and they're just about to appear on this right-hand side with Bob Jungels in his Luxembourg champions jersey on the wheel of the number 62, who is Gianluca Brambilla. On the left-hand side, Frances Desjeux have a plan, and that plan is Arnaud Démare. 3 kilometers remain. First sign of a Lamprey jersey. It's the fuchsia pink and navy blue. They're there for Lotto Soudal. And it's Andre Greipel time, it seems, Sean, because the red jerseys with 3 kilometers to go of Lotto Soudal on the right side as we look at it now.
Yes, well, they're starting to appear. We could see there's a number of Ethics riders there, and also Lotto. So they're all starting to appear now. And as we get inside the final 3 kilometers, Lotto are the ones who have quite a number of riders. Ethics a little bit further back here, but they are, starting to group together. Will they be able to make it inside this final 2.5 to go?
Caleb Ewan's found a few teammates on the right-hand side. He has one man trying to pilot him in. That is Sam Gulli, remember, had the puncture not so far away. Ewan is the second man down on the right-hand side, just moving up next to the BMC red and black rider on the right. 2.3 Ks to go. They're approaching that 2 kilometer go Vara, and now it is Ethics Quickstep who take it up with Bob Jungels right through the centre, but Kittel is still quite a way down in this train. Left-hand side we have Lotto Soudal in the red. They're working for Andre Greipel.
Yes, we can see Lotto, they have quite a number of riders all in line. Ethics Quickstep, they have men out in front here, 2 riders very much to the fore. A bit further back we can see Kittel there with 2 other teammates, and they're trying to just make a bit of room to move up a bit more to the front.
Big important moment there. We saw Cancellara being dropped. He's going to lose some time, so no dream of getting Pink back later on in the week in the second time trial, as Kittel is now being moved to the front. He's at the back of that 3-man train in the blue and black on the right-hand side. The bigger, thick-set guy, he's on the left as we look at it now, and the lead-out begins with Wisniewski on the left. On the right-hand side you can see Adam Hansen has been doing a good job for Lotto Soudal, and there is Caleb Ewan sitting on the wheel of Marcel Kittel. 1.4 kilometers to go. At the minute's advantage, Ethics Quickstep.
Yes, and they appear just at 1.5 to go. They started to appear. We can see now they have 1, 2, 3 riders in front of Kittel, and it's the perfect time to do it. We see Lotto, they were on the front much earlier, but they're starting to lose a bit of ground now, starting to get a little bit scattered. So perfect timing by Ethics Quickstep. We've seen it done before, and it looks like that Kittel is the one who is going to be the one to beat to win this stage.
The man in front of him is Fabio Sabatini. As we're into the final kilometre, it's Sabatini who is about to launch. Kittel, you can see on the left-hand side. The right now, as we look at it, it's the Brazilian former national champion Mourinho Fischer who takes it up for Arnaud Démare, and Quickstep suddenly have some competition. It's going to be Sabatini to try and launch it up, but they're going to have to go off the heels of the Frances Desjeux lead-out train for Andre Greipel. He's lost quite a bit of position and he's way down at the minute. It's Kittel though who's about to be led out by Sabatini. Sabatini peels off, and Kittel has chosen the wheel of Andre Greipel a little further back, but no, it is Arnaud Démare who is going to come off. On the right hand side you can see Caleb Ewan into the final 200 metres now. Here goes Kittel and hits the front. Kittel in the blue on the left hand side. On the right you can see Raffoni in the green. Behind him you can see Arnaud Démare. It's Kittel going through. Nobody can compete with him. Marcel Kittel on his 3rd Giro stage in his career wins for the 3rd time, and that 100% record continues. Nobody to challenge him, and Marcel Kittel with a comfortable win after a slightly chaotic approach to the line. His lead-out train failing him ever so slightly, but once he saw the wheel of Arnaud Démare, he didn't let go of it. Coming around the corner, and Kittel hitting the front. As we said earlier on, Sean, nobody could get around him.
So comfortable. Kittel was sitting there in Arnaud Démare's wheel, and you could see there that he was feeling so good he could just sit a bit off as we came in around that final sweeping bend in 4th position, but when he turned on the gas we could see nobody getting near him.
Super win for Marcel Kittel. To be fair, he wasn't really challenged. Ewan was up there, Kittel the winner. Once he hit the front, nobody could challenge him. Marcel Kittel takes stage 2 of the Giro d'Italia. Congratulations in Ethics Quickstep colours. Disappointment not to see Andre Greipel up there, really. It's Kittel who wins the stage ahead of Arnaud Démare. Frances Desjeux doing a really good job in the lead-up. Modolo taking 3rd with Hofland in 4th, Ruffoni in the 5th, and Borsev taking 6th. Not exactly the big battle between the huge names we'd been expecting all day. Quite a few of them losing their position. Marcel, Kittel and his team kept their cool despite the fact it probably wasn't the perfect lead out they wanted. Sean, talk us through the last kilometre again.
Well, we can see here, you know, it's Betty's Quick Step who take it up, and then Francais Jus start coming up on the left-hand side of our picture. Kittel, you know, when they arrived, he did not get into any panic at all. Just sat back there and then took the wheel of Armand Demar, and he was just, you know, waiting. He knew he had that, you know, explosive power in the tank, and we will see it now as we come into the finishing straight when he just, you know, takes it up. He just takes a bike, 2 bikes on everybody, and then from that moment it was a fight for second place.
Kittel's third wheel here, wearing number 61 with a dark blue jersey. Just in front of him is Arnaud Demar in the white. Behind him you can see Porsev in the red. It's Ruffoni, the man in the green, who goes here. Kittel just avoiding the lead-out man from Francis Deschaux, who was Delage there, making sure he hit the front. And look at this, nobody else is in the shot. Marcel Kittel by a country mile, in fact. You don't always see the gap too well on the head-on shot. The overhead shot shows us how good he was. Nobody to compete with Kittel, who takes the win. And we're ready to analyse that win with Ashley House and Juan Antonio Fletcher in just a moment's time. From Sean, from me, Rob, we'll see you tomorrow.